She'll be dropping them off, so we'll get a bit of distraction. My goal for today was at some point we have all the boys in here.
Okay.
And just getting used to working with more than one dog at a time, right? Because like I mentioned earlier, it's very different when you're walking one dog than when you're walking the three. Tip, 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 tip. Mom's not gonna help you,
Oh,
bud.
no, we can't. Sorry, bud.
Tip, 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 tip. There we go. It's 22, which I think last time was like maybe 40 something, was it? Or was it 25?
I think it was like 20-ish, yeah.
20 somewhere.
Yeah,
Okay.
when the collar was actually working, I think the first
Oh
time
yeah,
it
because I
was,
grabbed the
yeah.
wrong one, yeah. So, questions before we get started?
How's their eating? Better?
Getting better,
Yeah.
yes.
What about Shaw?
Still a nibbler.
Yeah.
Okay, but getting much better.
Okay.
Behavior-wise, still the same, doing well, drinking water.
Okay.
So when it comes to dogs, this is like an extreme, right? Because I
Yeah.
talked about the other dog.
Yeah.
Who went like 72 hours or so without eating, you know, and then he got without like half his food bowl, and he probably would have went on a longer hunger strike.
Yeah.
Animals or dogs are really good about knowing what they need. Like, these guys don't need us. They're supposed to be out hunting, you know, mating, being free, being wild, and all that stuff. That when he's hungry, they'll they go out and hunt, and they eat, and all that stuff. So, it's against instinct to, of course, starve themselves to death.
Yeah.
Otherwise, him and Jack are eating more normally,
Okay.
and Shaw's still kind of
Just
super
picking.
anxious. Last time when you came by, I think one of the first questions you asked is, how has Shaw been? Because he can be nippy
Yeah,
or
he
something.
can nippy
Okay.
when he gets anxious.
So after you left, I turned around and like, asked my employees, I'm like, oh, how's Shaw been with you guys? He's actually been great with everybody. But then I went to go, because typically my employees bring them out and then they're on the floor ready for me to work with and stuff. Is I went to go take Shaw. So I went to go remove Shaw, he nipped my hand. And he was in the kennel. And I was like, coincidentally,
Yeah, I
Aaron
just
had
asked
asked.
about it, yeah.
So then I turned around and asked them. I know Enrique said he'd been fine. I believe Brianna had been fine with him as well. But then Corey, one of my other handlers, was like, he was fine. And then the other day, I think it was actually just after you came, like
Yeah.
the Monday or Tuesday, he was showing it would be nippy.
Mm-hmm.
So the logic of the rationale behind that is when you guys left, especially him, he was a bit on the Hallie side,
Yeah.
right?
So he wanted.
He had to
To
come
just
back
see-
home,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's normal, it's whatever. So then I saw like kind of the same thing from Shaw,
Yeah.
and then they're like, oh yeah, on occasion it happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a big deal. He's under stress. He's
Okay.
not being aggressive.
Okay. Yeah, he usually isn't aggressive. It's just like, please back up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, leave me alone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have it's actually for boats. It's for hooking lines on things. So I had bought one a few months back for when we get dogs like that, that we can just use it to slip the leash on them. And as soon as we take them out, he's perfectly
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
So, okay. So
When
no
he's
big.
backed into a corner there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't like that. And
So,
they're both very clingy to me, so that doesn't surprise me.
so now nothing out of the ordinary. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a review. I wanna see what you remember from before, okay? Because obviously since we work with these guys all the time, and we do this for a living, we know, but I wanna make sure that it's sticking.
Okay.
So that this way, at the very end, when you take them home, you have a really good kind of foundation. So we'll do a quick review of the place, and then we're gonna start going over all the other things like they know, the sit, the stay, the down. When it comes to the heel, we'll most likely tackle that the next class, if not on the class before your session home.
Okay.
The reason why I'm pushing it till later, because that's the one thing that you're, it's like kind of like the most important. And it's a little bit more in depth than this stuff. It's kind of like place, tap, tap, use a little bit of tension, and you go there, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with the leash walking, we have a slack leash, and the dog is here to the point where there's no leash, right? Is that there's body mechanic or body language things that we do that communicates to the dog. We're turning left, we're turning right, we're pivoting back, we're coming to a stop. So if I teach that to you first class, by the chance you get the fourth class or the last class, you're most likely gonna forget it. So I will cover that then, okay?
Okay.
Questions? All right, so I'm gonna take Duncan here. Well, actually, who wants to go first?
Okay.
Right, I'll have you take Duncan.
Okay.
Now, when you go to approach him, what do we assume might happen?
He's gonna try to get up. Which color is he?
He is black, right? And it's color coordinated, so
Oh, okay.
Shaw is orange, and he's black, okay? So go ahead and pick up your leash there. And instead of releasing him, yep, you can do that. You can pet him. I'm gonna have you just, yep.
It's so hard to resist it.
Go ahead and, he's gonna stay put, right? You don't need to say anything here. I'll have you just kind of circle around and a U around that place for now. Good. Go ahead and come back and pet him. Good. Go ahead and pause for a second. And pull away. You should stay put. Very good. And then whenever you're ready, you will release. Good. So, little things like that are, especially in the home when they're in a warmer environment, I would expect to be more inclined, like he's gonna be more inclined, like when he sees you, like,
Yeah.
because it's always like just freedom,
Yeah.
right? There are tiny little things, but we can use it to our advantage. One thing I will note is when you were petting him the first time and you pulled away and he kind of like leapt up and you went, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have you as much as best as possible,
Don't do
is
that.
refrain.
Okay.
We want everything to be done through the remote.
Okay.
So, go ahead and place them.
Please.
Okay. Now have you go to just drop the leash and just step away. So, did we talk about controlling and eliminating behaviors last class?
Yes.
We did, okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember the difference?
One's like a preventative and one's like a end result of type of thing, or like a just stop it.
Right, you're close.
Yeah.
So when we look at their behaviors, we want to think, do I want to eliminate this or do I want to control this? Barking.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say if we live in an apartment and there's a hallway with other apartments, a lot of dogs will bark whenever they hear a neighbor walking by.
Mm-hmm.
You know it's a neighbor. So then it just becomes a nuisance, right? So then if I want to eliminate barking to any sounds like walking in the hallway, a dog walking in the hallway, I would just provide consequence
Mm-hmm.
automatically with no warning
Mm-hmm.
for the behavior.
Okay.
So the dog things, when I bark in response to the neighbor's keys jingling in the door, I get a consequence. So therefore, I'm not going to bark at that sound anymore. Okay. But let's say someone starts to jiggle your door. The dog would start barking because that's completely different from everything else that you've eliminated, right?
Okay.
So then, let's say someone knocks on your door, and you're like all the way to the end of the apartment. You can't hear it. You want your dog to bark because that alerts you somebody's here, right? So then you go, you check the door. Oh, it's my friend, right? But then you don't want to eliminate it, so you wouldn't just provide consequence.
Yeah.
You would want to add some kind of cue to tell the dog, thanks for letting me know, but I need you to stop barking now.
Mhm.
Okay? So right there, you're putting energy into him. It would be unfair to expect any dog, when being given energy, to not respond, right? I don't care that he gets excited, I don't care that he gets happy or what have you. What I do care about is that he keeps those paws on the ground, right? So when you went to pull away and he thought about it and you went, right? That's technically a warning.
Okay.
And you want to just jump straight to tap.
Okay.
Okay? So I move back, he tries, boom, you know, oh, all right. Like, mom put this energy into me,
Okay.
and I got over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tried to do this in response, there was no warning, it was just consequence.
Okay.
The other part of this is, because I know humans, you'll start to fall in old habits. And the next thing you know, it's for everything as opposed to the remote.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where people get frustrated. Because they're using the sound, and the sound doesn't mean anything. It's just the sound. There's no physical connection to the dog, right? So then the most common complaint is, Jesse, I have to tell my dog no 20 times before they stop whatever it is they're doing, or they just don't stop. And I'm like, well, why would I say no 20 times when I could just give one aversive and stop it from the get-go?
Yeah.
You know? So it also, with the less you say, the more you say.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you disempower your words. Sit, 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 sit. Okay. right? So the 8th sit means something,
Yeah.
right? No,
The
one's the first
didn't
one.
mean anything.
Exactly. So when you say it and you make it happen,
Mhm.
that empowers you. Because you're saying, look, I'm not gonna give you an inch.
Okay.
You're gonna do this, okay? So, it is super common, and if you catch yourself, it's okay. The first thing is always self-awareness.
Okay.
Because once you're gone with your dogs,
Mhm.
I'm not there anymore to call it out,
Yeah.
okay? So go ahead and pick up your leash again. When we did the sends last time, how far did we get?
Maybe like a couple of feet, no more than like him being on this.
Okay. I don't know if you saw, but Bree posted a video
Mhm.
earlier, right? Where
Yeah.
she placed, I think it was Jack.
Yeah.
And it was,
On
it
leash.
was probably at least 30 feet,
Yeah.
right? So we can build to that degree, right? So we're creating that foundation there. Remember, all this stuff is, of course, associated to us. I have to now transfer it to you. I also want you to understand how we get there. So that this way, when you take the dogs home, you know, because they're excited to be home, they're back in their environment, it's not going to be a real easy just transition. It's like, okay, it's been done, I need to show you. So the way we start to create that longer distance send
Mhm.
is most trainers or people, when they teach their dog place, they'll walk the dog
Mhm.
all the way there,
Yeah.
right? And I like to just start from here,
Mhm.
remote, and teach the dog to start going there in response to this, right?
Mhm.
And then here, 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 right? Just
Okay.
gradually. And if I feel like the dog's really getting it, I might even jump it, right?
Yeah.
But if this ends up being too hard and that's easy, then I go in the middle and it just kind of go back and forth, okay? So what we want to start doing here is layering in the scent from a further distance, but then also from different angles, right? Because if you always do it from one particular direction,
Yeah.
they'll know it from here, but then when you try to send them from there,
Yeah.
it's a complete blank, okay? So I'm gonna have you go to release Duncan,
Break.
and we're gonna go about here, so 5 squares back, okay?
Okay.
And then you're gonna do the same thing, it's play, start remoting. You wanna keep yourself past this, behind this threshold, okay?
Okay.
You start remoting, he should just go,
Okay.
okay? If he doesn't, you would use directional leash pressure,
Okay.
and you might even have to lean like this,
Okay.
compared to the tapping to guide him there,
Okay.
okay? And you ready?
It's always good.
Place.
Yep, yep, there you go. Good. Good, and you go in praise. Good, and you're at 20, what now?
2.
2, let's go to 28. Good. And break.
Break.
We're good from the same spot again.
Place.
Let's go down to 25. And do one more from that distance.
Break. Place.
There you go. Very good. So it should be that direct, right?
Yeah.
So now we want to go further. So
Okay.
we're going to go back here.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Break. Oh, that's good. Did you see? Place.
Yep.
You're so dramatic.
Yeah.
Which one you
We
want?
have bigger ones for them in the back, of course. Is this making sense here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna make a pretty big jump. Now we're gonna go here.
Okay.
Okay, so this is approximately like 15 feet or so, right?
Okay.
I anticipate there's gonna be an issue.
Okay.
About 3 of them.
Okay.
Can we guess what they might be if we send from here?
He's gonna want to try to stop at my dad.
That's 1.
He's gonna go that way,
That's 2.
or he's not gonna go at all.
Yeah. Okay, so, like earlier, right, when you sent them, he's like, Dad,
Yeah.
right, because I am part of this process too, right?
Yeah.
Is, it's normal, right? Because we don't have you guys here.
Right.
Now, if we did it, like if I'm out there working with him, like he wouldn't run to me because we don't have any kind of bond,
Right.
right? So he's gonna run to you in search of like security, like please help this stop.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you do need to go there,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So if that happens, what I'll have you do is if he goes to you, we're not gonna say anything. I'll just have you grab his leash and just real subtly, you don't even have to get up. Directionally towards the ear, okay? If he hops there, you would just very light pressure this way to guide him off
Okay.
to over here, okay?
Do I keep tapping while that happens?
Correct, right? So pressure on until they complete the command and
Okay.
pressure off, right? Now, if I see you send, Duncan goes, and it's just a straight shot, you can take off the pressure.
Okay.
Because he's already done
He's
it.
done,
He's doing
yeah.
it, or he's in the process of. But let's say he's approaching and then he slows down here,
Keep going. Yeah.
then you would kick in with the tapping. What we would want to see in response is, oh,
Immediate.
Yeah.
boom, okay? So it's kind of like having a little remote control car,
Yeah.
you know? And I'll see this, especially during recall, we'll be calling the dog, we'll take off the pressure, the dog goes, oh, pressure's off.
Yeah.
And go, butterfly.
Yeah.
Kick in again, the dog, oh, no, I gotta complete
Yeah.
the command itself, okay? And if he ends up not knowing what to do, you want to, because this is a big jump, right? Is if we have to help him, I start like this first to see if this will finish the rest.
Okay.
Otherwise, very slowly, as you're keeping that pressure on,
Okay.
you're getting him to finally go, right?
Okay.
And we're trying to refrain from, if we've sent him from here with no issue, I ideally don't want to go past here.
Okay.
Because he's already shown us that he can't do that. Okay? I'll go and get his leash.
Break. Here.
Right, that's okay.
And he's gonna go right for that one.
So what I would do
It's very
here
confusing,
is
huh?
go ahead and pivot and then pivot again. There you go. Like that.
Not that, you're too big for that. Place.
Yep. 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 You got it. Yep. Yep. Right there. Good. Right? So he chose option B.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really distinguish between the two unless there's a clearer
Yeah.
motion.
So like at home, if there was like one place where there isn't two are the same, it really shouldn't be as big of a problem because he's going to the one place he knows.
Correct.
As opposed to two things that look the same then.
Correct, right? So if you use this, like if you have one designated for him and one for Shaw, and they're always going to the same one, even if you move them, he will learn to recognize his particular
one?
place. Correct, right?
Yeah, 'cause we're just gonna probably like a mat
Sure.
for Jack, but when there isn't two mats that look the same, then he should automatically kind of just pick out the one and not have two to choose from, so.
Correct. Now, let's say, because that's how it should work out. Let's say he does opt to go to Shaw's bed. Do you know why that would happen?
If it's closer, that's just like the most immediate way to like turn off the stimulus.
Yep.
To the,
Pressure?
yeah.
Absolutely, right? Very good. So, recall is typically where we see this the most. So, pro of this is dogs off leash, no, doesn't matter, I get them to come back. A con, however, is if I'm here, there's a person in the middle, and the dog is on the other end of the person, and I call them, they would most likely go to the person, okay? So if that happens, what I tell my clients is issue another recall. And they'll think, well, isn't that a repeat? I'm like, not to the dog, because they
We already
think,
did it.
I went to somebody.
They finished the command the first time. And
Correct, it's just not the right person. So I go, no big deal, just issue another one. Because if you try to keep promoting to get them to detach and come to you, they will literally climb the person. They will start jumping.
I'm already
like,
here,
yeah, how
where do you
close
want?
do I need to be, right? And I've seen it happen several times.
Yeah.
So, when I work with couples, I'll teach them how to clarify that so that the dog will learn to bypass, the person in the middle. But if it happens, it's not a big deal, it's just we reissue another recall. So, yes, here, that's closer. Well, if that's closer, why wouldn't it go over here, right?
Yeah.
So, He's not being conniving, he's not being
Yeah, he just wants to do
disobedient.
it as quick as possible so it stops.
Yes, right? But you as the human want to clarify for him and always be very black and white, right? Because let's say he did that. A lot of dog owners go, well, Jesse, the dog did it. It's okay, right? I'm like, no, because now you're going to create gray area
Yeah.
and confusion and shortcuts for the dog. You never want to create that.
Right.
It's always, if this is what I had taught you to do and what you're supposed to do, you're going to do that, not this other thing. Okay? Let's go ahead and pick up our leash again. Now, when you did descend originally, I want to, as much as possible, move as little as possible.
Okay.
So when you started to descend, he came here, and you like walked all the way here, and then you were already over here.
Okay.
If I would have done it, the way it would have looked would have been he runs to the wrong spot, I'm tapping, and I'm using the leash from here
Okay.
to see if he'll just shoot off that way, right?
But don't move my actual body.
Yeah, if it doesn't, and I take my time, really slow, because I'm trying to make him figure it out as much as possible.
Okay.
The more you do, it's like training wheels,
Okay.
right? You keep those training wheels on for so long, eventually you try to remove them, it's too hard.
And you don't repeat the place command, right? You
Correct.
said it once.
And on the first one, you repeated,
Okay.
right? You said place and then you said place again.
Okay.
But then I was like, I'm gonna let that slide, and the next few years, it was just the one time and you were fine. But that's something, of course, yes, you wanna be aware of, okay?
Okay.
And
Break. Okay, buddy. Please.
Tap. Now step forward. Tap. Tap. Pick up your leash. Tap. 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 A little bit more direction. Tap. 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 Increase your power. 30-ish. Tap. 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 Increase your power. 35. Tap. 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 Yep. Tap. 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 40. I'm not gonna have the bed. Tap. Tap. And what I would do is from here. Tap. Tap. Yep, right there. Tap. 40. Oh, where are you at? Let's go to 50. Yep, we're getting close. Yep. 55. Yep. 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 A little more. Yep. Yep. You can take a step forward here. Tap, because you're going really rapidly. Here you go. Tap. 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 Where you at now? 65?
55.
60. Now slow taps here. Yep. Tap. Slower. Tap. 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 There it is. Good. So here, do you know what that is?
He's testing me.
Confusion and resistance. Okay. So when he starts to lock up, essentially, the brain is going, I'm not going to do this, and tries to shut down and like ignore the pressure. So with remote, if we'll get dogs where they're just not going to move. And if you're just dragging them there the whole time like this, again, you're doing all the work, the dog learns nothing, right? So you did everything correctly, okay? He got confused, he tried to run here. You're putting the pressure on and he's like, nope, I'm not gonna go, I'm already here, right? Because this is an option. And you're 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 55, and he's like, nope, not gonna move. And then finally you hit that breaking point. Could you tell you're at the breaking point?
He made a little noise.
And what else
He went.
before that? You start to fidget,
Oh, okay.
okay? So we tend to go by the noise.
Okay.
I go by the body.
Okay.
Okay, so the noise was frustration. That's the brain going, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this, right? So that's more the protest. The fidgeting is the, okay, this is getting too much, I can't ignore it,
Okay.
right? So in horse training, there's a saying, I don't train horses, but I saw it once and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. They say if they're blinking, they're thinking. So when
Okay.
they're trying to teach a horse something, when they see them blinking, they can tell that they're processing. For dogs, they fidget. But the
Okay.
only thing that rhymes with fidget is Bridget and midget, and I can't come up with
Something
anything.
saying for that.
Yeah, so, they fidget. So here, when I'm teaching a dog something new, like let's say for instance, we're outside, this dog is staring at another dog, right? 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Right? It's literally how it works.
Mhm.
So I keep gradually increasing the pressure, because I could go 15 to 100.
Yeah.
Blah!
Yeah.
Right? But it's so drastic that the dog doesn't rationalize.
Yeah, why it happened.
So with the gradual pressure, when you're teaching Duncan, you cannot resist me.
Okay.
You don't have to be forceful, you're not yelling. You kept your tension the same, like I'm helping you, bud,
Mhm.
but I'm helping you try to figure out how to turn this off faster.
Okay.
The 55 finally makes him think, all right, I'm trying to be stubborn, I don't want to leave here, but I can't override that. What happens if I go over here?
Yeah.
Boom, it shuts down. Okay? So when we get resistance, it doesn't mean your dog's a bad dog.
Mhm.
Okay? Because resistance can come from a lot of things. In this case, it was confusion.
Mhm.
When I get a dog that gives me resistance because it's fearful, nervous, or anxious, this is how I actually build confidence, a la shock.
Yeah.
Okay? The shutdown, and people do the same thing,
Mhm.
right? I can't handle this, so I'm just not going to deal with it.
Mhm.
Or I'm going to run away from it, or I'm going to avoid it, or I'm going to pretend that it doesn't exist.
Mhm.
But you don't grow that way. We don't grow that way, right?
Yeah.
Same thing for the dog. So if we're putting pressure on Shaw, so when we started on the prompt collars this past week, Shaw was the most averse to it.
Yeah.
Okay. And my handlers were like, he freaked out the most. I'm like, makes sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, right? We work him through it, and now he's much better
Mhm.
because we didn't go, oh, okay, you're
Let's
too
stop.
averse to this,
Yeah.
let's stop. By working him through it, we've essentially taught him, yes, you don't like this.
You could do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So if he's shutting down and going, no, Jesse, I don't want to walk next to that loud tractor,
Yeah.
I go, I know, bud, 20, 25, 30. Eventually he goes, okay, it's either I try to resist and not walk past the tractor and this goes really high,
Mhm.
or I just get over it
Yeah.
and walk past it and see what happens. Right? So the way dogs can rationalize things is this makes things real
Yeah.
because of the physicality,
Yeah.
as opposed to the fear of this object, tractor, really loud.
Yeah.
But even if you walk him past it, there's never a connection
Yeah.
relating him to it, right?
Mhm.
So then in his mind, maybe you walk past the tractor a few times.
Mhm.
And after a few reps, he goes, okay, I don't like this tractor, it's really loud. But I know when I leave your side, this goes off and it's too much.
Mhm.
Let's see what happens if I just walk with you and I don't do anything.
Mhm. Nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
Mhm.
So then it builds his confidence and he goes, oh, I didn't have to freak out because we walked past it X amount of times, nothing ever happened.
Mhm.
And also, I could deal with this.
Mhm.
It toughens them up. It's physicality, but it's the way we're layering it in
Mhm.
that it helps kind of bring them out and learn to deal with other stressors. Because if he can deal with this, which is a real thing to him,
Yeah.
then the thought of something is easy.
Yeah.
So if you're to ask me, am I scared of a serial killer or a ghost? I would say the serial killer
Yeah.
is real.
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of concepts here.
Yeah.
Okay? So we're gonna try that again. I'm gonna have you dip back down.
Okay.
What was your number before?
It got up, the original number is 25.
All right, let's go on to 25. Okay, so whenever we break resistance, we always go back down again.
Okay.
Because the brain should be much more sensitive to it. Okay?
Break. Place.
Yep, good. Almost go ahead and 30. Yep, good. Gradual step forward. Right foot. Yeah, right foot forward. There you go. There you go. Good. Resistance, not the same level. From 55 down to 35, right? So when we first work with dogs is when we see the most resistance. I could have a dog go from 50, then I'll go back down to 20, then I'll go to 40, right? And then the dog might decide you know what, I'm really gonna put the brakes on, and I'll be at 100. And the owner will be like, but that feels getting better. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't his best shot. And unless the dog gives it his best shot, it's gonna think, well, this is always a possibility, right? So when you're working with them, and after you override the resistance, the initial beginning of it, you seeing it is probably gonna be super minimal, okay? Because he knows I can try to test mom, but she'll go to 95, so do I really want to test her, okay? That's the most important part of training, is that we, of course, are more than, how do you say, I don't say happy, but more than willing. When I come in and people are like, Jesse, need to fix this problem, I'm like, I'll fix it. But if we gotta go to 127 to fix it, you have to be able to go to 127 to fix it too, right? So if we do all the stuff, we go to 85 because he needs it or whatever, and then I give them to you, and you're like, Jesse, I can't, the motion is too hard. I go, well, we're gonna have a problem here. Because now he's gonna learn that, and he's gonna push you a lot more, okay? Let's try a couple more, and we're gonna go back down to that 25. Actually, let me go down to 15.
Place.
Beautiful. I hate you. Let's do one more.
You're my dog, though. You're my boy. Break. Stay at 15?
Yeah.
Please.
Did you see that scoop at the beginning? You heard the speed kind of pick up?
Yeah.
So now he's starting the whole, let me see if I can not do it and get my way. And then you don't. You get your way. And then he starts to get a bit more urgency. Right? And it can be even more urgent, but for right now, that's a healthy level in terms of where you're at, in terms of understanding this stuff, okay? But it's super interesting when you watch this, how it went from easier when you were closer, and you start to increase the distance, and of course I called the mistakes that we would see, you of course did them, you worked them through it, and now it's a straight shot, okay? All this stuff is normal. I like to see this stuff, because when you take them home, you can now go back in your head and go, oh, we already did this, and this is how we fixed it. Okay, let's go to swap handlers. Now that we're swapping, I'll have you first start a little bit closer, and then we're gonna do the same thing and work backwards. It might be a little bit harder because mom's here. Yeah, so we'll see how that works out.
We'll see how you do there, big guy.
He's the black one.
Right, the top black one on the side.
Place.
And then you can double check, was this, is this right?
That's a good boy, buddy. That's a good boy.
Good.
Yeah. Yes, you are. Break.
You move.
It's like, no, I'm gonna stay on my place. I'm gonna stay here.
Place. We'll do 2
more at that distance, and then we're gonna push it a little bit more,
Right.
a little bit further.
We got this, Duncan. Going all the way back.
Place.
Very good.
Break.
Hang on, I'm itching.
Each on your own time.
Place.
Yep. Keep the pressure on, with the leash, yep. Then you go with mama. Yep, there you go. Look at that. Now, when you came over there, did you see him?
Yeah, he was
When he
looking, yeah.
looked, right?
Yeah.
Now, you can't, like, stop that,
Yeah.
right? He
That's a
has
logical
to try it
thought,
out.
Yeah,
Before him to learn, like, oh, that's not an option, he
Yeah.
technically has to try it.
Yeah.
Like, someone, like, you know, with a human, you can sit anywhere in this room except the red chairs.
Mhm.
And they'll learn to avoid the red chairs, right?
Mhm.
For him, he just goes, well, here's 3 or 2 placemats.
Mhm. I'm gonna pick closest
They all
one,
look the
it's
same to
out,
me.
yeah.
Exactly. So that was good, but much easier
Mhm.
this time to correct than when you had them,
Yeah.
right? Because you worked them through all that resistance stuff.
Yeah.
Then he goes to mom,
Yeah,
and you did perfect, a little tiny bit of pressure in that tap, and he diverted and shot over there,
Mhm.
okay? So, when you see or understand just how complex this actually is for a dog,
Mhm.
that doesn't change other than the intensity, right?
Mhm.
And he was able to decipher, it means don't go there, and then don't go to mom, and
Mhm.
continue to go to the original, like, spot that I sent you,
Right.
all through the same sensation.
Mhm.
But his interpretation of it changes depending on what he's thinking.
Yeah,
So when we apply this to behavior, if I have a dog on the placemat,
Mhm.
we're in the home, somebody knocks, and they bark.
Mhm.
Initially, if I remote the dog from the barking, what do you think would happen?
It would teach him that the barking is bad.
Or you
Close?
try to leave his place.
Yes, because he has to decipher between 2 things,
Right.
right? I'm on this and I'm barking.
Mhm.
Remote, okay, well, remote usually means to
Do
like,
something.
right? So that happens. So then I keep the pressure on,
Mhm.
the dog goes back, and the dog goes, oh, well, it wasn't being on the bed that guarded the tap. I wonder what it was.
Mhm.
Somebody knocks again later, bark, tap. Well, no, that wasn't right.
Mhm.
What happens if I shut up? Oh, that means when you're on your bed, and I've told you to go there, and you're not supposed to bark.
Mhm.
You see that? They're able to clarify these things, but it requires, again, them going through the motions
Yeah.
of doing the thought process,
Mhm.
keeping the pressure on, and then once they make an alternate decision, we take the pressure off, and that's how they start to clarify stuff. Okay? So all this, again, is normal. He's doing good. I want to see this stuff so that you can get the experience with it. We'll do one more send from a distance.
Break.
All the way. All the way.
Place.
Yep, good. There he goes. Questions so far? Let me think here. With the place command, do we understand, like, what can a dog do on place?
They can lie there, they can sit there as long as they're in their place.
And they can stand there, right?
Yeah.
They can do anything within the area of place.
Mhm.
Chew on a bone, play with a toy. I don't care what they're doing, I just care that they're within the perimeter of the place, right? Today we're gonna cover the sit and the down and maybe the stay. What we wanna be careful is that if we set Duncan in place, is that you wouldn't say down or you wouldn't say sit, okay? Because if you do so, it's no longer a place command, it's a down command. Your new command overrides the old command. And a lot of people do this where they'll send and tell the dog to down. And a lot of times that's perfectly fine, you could do that. But just understand if you were to sit or stand up, you would have to correct them back into that kind of position. He's choosing to lay down, okay? Perfectly fine, I don't care. He's probably tuckered out because she was out with him for like an hour. It's a tiny little detail, but of course it means a lot because what happens a lot of times is people send the dog, they down them, they forget that they down them, the dog gets up, right?
And they think they can do that then.
Yes, and then it becomes a gray area for the dog, right?
Then down doesn't mean down anymore.
Correct. So if we ever do that, just be aware of that, okay? So I'll go take it here. So out of the boys, I think he was actually the most difficult to teach down. Jack was the second, and Shaw was the easiest. We were expecting Shaw to actually be more persnickety just because of the nipping stuff.
Yeah.
He picked it up within a couple
Well,
of
he's
minutes.
very smart. He likes to do stuff. He just, as long as it's in a,
Jack already knew down, so I'm surprised.
well, down and stay is different than
Well,
get
yeah,
down
no.
and get up right up again.
So the way we teach down, so most people it's the treat,
Yeah.
right? So when we do remote work, it's not as simple as teaching the down, and if they don't do it, you just remote. We have to teach them through pressure. Because let's say I did tell Jack to down, he did so, no remote. Then he starts to get up.
Yeah, that's his problem. He would get up
Yes.
right away. Yeah.
Our instinct with this tool is you just remote them, and your thing is you're trying to punish them. Don't get up, right? But if he's never learned how to lay down through this, kind of like never learned to go to place through this, if anything, he's gonna run off.
Yeah.
Okay? So we have to and I get dogs fully trained off food, and when we do this, the owner will be like, just the dog knows down. Like, I know they know down, but they know down through this, right? So once we condition them, then it's a totally different thing. So the way we teach the down here, right, is, and this is a big no-no in the training world, but I don't care because I do what I want. So we teach down from a sitting position, okay? The reason why it's a no-no in the training world is if you're doing ring or competition ring stuff, if you teach a dog down from sit, when they sit, they tend to opt to do this as a sequence. So then you end up creating a problem in the ring.
Okay.
Are you guys going to do any competition
No,
stuff?
we're not doing
Okay, that's what I thought,
Yeah.
okay? So I made the assumption. I teach down from sit using remote because it's easier. The way a dog is down is like this. So this is more along the lines of his mechanics. Got some dandruff, buddy.
Yeah, he's a little dangerous.
There we go. So I'm going to teach you how we teach it, and I'm going to teach you how now what you can do with it, okay? So originally, we take the dog on a leash. I'll shorten the leash like so, okay? The reason why I do this is some dogs can become defensive over this command. My theory is because I'm technically using pressure to put them into a submissive position that they get defensive. And I've had perfectly friendly, sweet dogs act out aggressively during this command. So when I do this and I'm pulling away, it's because if the dog were to jump up and become actively aggressive, since I'm already having pressure going that way, it'll just direct the dog away from me, okay? And then with my left hand here, I go on the shoulders and I go down and back at a 45-degree angle, tiny bit of pressure, using this until I find a number where the dog starts to fidget and go, how do I stop this? And then eventually lays down. When we taught Jack, he would walk forward, he would spiral around to my right, he tried to pull back, he tried everything but laying down. It's not out of the ordinary, he has to try his options. Once I kicked in with the pressure, as he was doing all that stuff, he was being remoted, and I would keep guiding him back here and putting him back into this position and resetting. Until eventually he thought, well, I can't go that way, can't go that way, can't go that way, can't stand up. Let me try this. Everything stopped. And he goes, oh, okay. So when we keep that pressure on when they're making all these mistakes, and having the leash short helps limit range of motion. Because if I have this, he can go
Yeah.
even further. It makes more work, both for me and the dog. So I make it a little bit easier by limiting his range of motion. And then just here, tap, tap, tap. Teaching him that when he feels pressure on his shoulders, paired with this, it means to go in this position, okay? So now he has a new answer to this, okay? Before it was go here, then it was walk here, then it was put your butt down, then it's put your butt down when I say so, and then it's now go on all fours like this, right? So I'm teaching him more answers, and it's a nonverbal cue. So the light touch in the back paired with the remote means to lay down. In the beginning, it wasn't so light. I needed a little bit more physical to guide him, but still ideally getting this to get him to comply instead of me doing all the work for him, okay? We have two aspects to the down. We have just performing the down, and then we have staying in the down, right? When we're first teaching something, I always care about teaching the dog to do it first. I don't care about the dog holding the position. So initially when I downed him, he laid down and he popped right back up. And I was like, not gonna worry about it, because I want to make it easy. Kept repeating it. So eventually he's like, oh, this is what you want? Sure, boom. And once I got the easy or easiness of performing the command, I go, cool. Now that that part is settled, don't move, right? And it would only be for like a few seconds. Then I would issue the release command and he'd get up, and then I would read down him again. So now I'm telling him, you do this and you stay there until I release you, okay? But we tend to want to jump to everything at once, right? So you always want to pick and choose topics or arguments, focus on it. Once you've established it, then you can move on to the next thing, okay? So he knows the word down. This is the nonverbal down, okay? So if I cue Duncan into this position down, boom, he lays. If he were to get up, we've done enough conditioning, you know, by the time you pick him up, that all you should need to do is remote him to lie him back down again. Should he be confused, panicked, or being stubborn, and he moved, you would keep that pressure on, pick up your leash initially, they're in a transference stage, come here, reposition him, and what you might see is that he would just lay down, and then I walk away. I don't say anything. He goes back to the original position. Doesn't have to be exact. If I see he's panicking and doing it like kind of what he did there, then I shorten the leash and use the hand to guide him. The hand kind of acts like his grip to reality, if you will. So earlier when he was panicking, that leash pressure you had forward, that physical was his grip to reality. He's like, I don't know what to do here. Pressure's becoming more, what do? And eventually the brain starts to register, well, you feel this, and you feel this happening too. What does this usually mean? Oh, it needs to go here. Boom, there it is, right? So it's the same thing. If he starts to panic, I can use my hand to help him in that moment of stress. When we see these things, when dogs panic, everybody wants to reset or stop because they feel bad. I don't. I work them through the stress. Because this is controlled context, right? Let's say he is panicking and he's freaking out. If we take off the pressure and start new, even if he's settled down and stuff, and he does it perfectly, if you're out and something happens and he goes under stress and you've never taught him to perform and commit, you're stuck, right? And this is a two-part thing, because it's not just him, it's you. Because, oh, my dog's freaking out, crap, I'm freaking out too. What do I do here, right? So when we do it in a controlled context, we're not worried. Yeah, he's panicking, but where's he gonna go? He's on a leash, right? And then you also develop your skills as a handler of, okay, when my dog's panicking, I'm not gonna cave in and feel bad, I'm gonna make him do it, okay? I don't worry about length of time if that happens. Okay, especially for you guys, because you're learning this, right? So in the beginning, maybe he panics for 15 minutes before you figure it out. It's okay. What I care about is that you figured it out. Then the next time he panics, only a couple minutes, then a minute, then a couple seconds. And next thing you know how to work with your dog via this tool through panic. Okay? Questions so far? So pick up a leash here. He shouldn't assume, right? Right? Get him away. So I'll do a couple more with just a hand. Nobody, we're not doing that anymore.
It's like, yeah, I'm tired.
He's like, I've been doing this all day, all week. And you said head dip?
Mhm.
That's the assumption.
Yeah,
right?
Yep.
Good. When we do the down, I don't care about how it looks. Okay, we don't.
Just gonna ask that.
Yes. In the competition ring, Sphinx-like,
Mhm.
like this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Looks really pretty. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Most dogs will opt to do this.
Mhm.
I care about function. So if I tell a dog to down, so we have a puppy. She's 6 or 7 months. She's super cute. She's a board and training for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
I trained their other dog for the board and training, so they brought her in. When my employees were like, Jesse, we taught Piper down, but she keeps rolling on her back and giving us her belly. I go, that's okay. I was like,
I'm down here, please pet me.
she's super submissive, she's super sweet, right?
Yeah.
I told them, you can praise her, you can rub her belly, and as soon as you get up, if she gets up, you correct her, she lays back down again, and then you ignore her, right? And I told them, that's technically okay.
Mhm.
What I care, even if she's on her back with her belly up, if she'll hold that for 45 minutes, who cares? Exactly, right? You want the function.
Mhm.
And eventually that stuff goes away on its own,
Yeah.
because being on their back like that also can become uncomfortable if it's on like a hard surface and stuff.
Mhm.
So, we'll do one more quick. And boy, we're at 15 now. Yeah. Good. And I like to wait like for this. Tip. Good. Right? So, tip, tip, tip. Good. He's assuming. They're just saying they're gonna down me.
Yep.
Right? So let's just cut the crap in.
Yeah.
Really do it, right?
Yep.
So I'm on 15. I allow him to do it. And then the first one's a tiny bit of, very tiny bit of pressure going up,
Mhm.
pair with the tap to pop him back into the sitting position. So it's kind of like with the place, if you walked over to place, maybe you're not gonna place him.
Mhm.
But he assumes like, oh, well, I'll just go here. Well, I didn't tell you to go there quite yet, right?
Yeah.
Same thing here. So I want to make sure that he's waiting for my cue, okay? So some things that I like to do is, thinking about it, I'll pause, right? And I'll wait.
Mhm.
Because if we always come to a stop, down, turn, down, like he picks up that pattern, next thing you know, every time you stop, he's
Yeah.
laying down, okay? Oh, we got, I believe that's Jack in distraction. Want to play some?
Please. Oh dear.
It's okay. Yep. Yeah. Lower. What's your number? Go like 18. Ghost. This is Brianna, by the way. She's one of my trainers. She's been working with the boys. Tap. 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 39 currently. Give a tap here. Again. One more. Yep. Yep. There. Okay, for the complete settle. May I have you bring me another placemat of this size for Shaw? And then bring a Shaw as well, please. Okay. Who wants to handle Jack?
I will.
Could you wait?
Okay. And Bree, real quick, before you head up, would you move this placemat next to Mike's chair in there? Tip, tip, tip. There we go. Good. And then you can break him, and then you can place him on that one there.
Break.
Yep. So many choices.
Place.
Good, yep. Good, and you can go ahead and have a seat next to Jack there. It's fresh from Home Depot, so he smells like wood. Tap, 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 tap. And then your number is 18 now?
17.
17? Go ahead and go back to 25. And tap. 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 we go. Now, because we're gonna have Shaw coming in, we want to anticipate that he's gonna make a mistake. What I would do is grab closer to the, there you go, right there, okay? So when Shaw comes in, I'm gonna assume Jack's gonna be kind of impulsive, so I limit how far he can go. He's technically still gonna try to forage, but he's not gonna be able to get all the way to Shaw. That it's gonna be easier to correct them while you're in this phase, okay? Let me take this and we'll move this over for Mr. Shaw. We'll place him here. So when Jack came in, Duncan here got very excited. It's a family reunion, right? I kept the pressure and I started to bump it, and at finally at 39, it started to register for him, oh, I'm supposed to be doing something, right? Now that he's back down and calm, yeah, not good, go stretching. Come on in. That one, so go ahead and give Shaw to Aaron here. Yeah. In place? Yeah. That one we can place right there. And if you bring the CPE.
Is it on the desk?
Oh, yeah, can you bring it, please? I forgot to grab it. Cool. Let me see if I can settle this guy. Almost. Yep, good job. And would you fit Shaw with the CPE one, please? Yeah, you can move it. Thank you. So here, Jack comes in, distraction. I have to go to 39. He's fine. Then here's Shaw. Bree comes in with Shaw on the bed. He gets distracted. I had gone down back to 15, went up to about 25, 30 to get him to go back into the position. Okay. Because there was so much distraction, I added a little bit of that hand pressure to get him back down again. As soon as you apply it, we remove. Okay? So, questions about any of that stuff? Okay. So now I'm going to start attaching the work to this. Okay? We're going to go to 18 here. Break. Now you have an audience. Okay. All right, so bring it here. Wait a moment. Down. Okay. Okay. So when I cued the word down, we saw that like head movement, right? But then he got stuck, and the tap pushed him into the rest of the position. Okay. That's what we want to see. I want to see the dog respond to this. Thank you, Bree. And go back into position. If we see a move out of it, you want to decipher, is he confused? Does he not know what's going on? Is he still learning? Which at this point he knows, or not should say no, he associates. It's just there's a lot going on. Okay? Break. We're at 18. Good. See what he does here. Good. I don't want the down quite yet. Good. Down. Good. Right there. Okay. Break. Yeah, boy, excuse you. Down. Good. Okay. So the way we taught this was first the hand pressure with the remote, and then we start to create the sequence. So once we got easy downs, tap, boom, pull. Then I go down and start to layer in the remote first without the hand to see if the dog will opt for this, because when he's in this sitting position, it's 50-50. It's either stand up or lay down, right? So if he did stand up and make the wrong decision, I would just limit his range of motion, keep the pressure on. He's okay, it's not standing. Oh, I did learn this other thing. Boom, pressure off. Oh, okay, I get it now, and then we'll repeat. Okay, right? When we issue the down, just like with the place and any other command, there is no stay involved. Excuse me, at least not verbally. It's implied. Down. Good. Just like that. Okay. Now, down and place get you the same thing. Duration. Set place is more lenient. Okay. This is like, okay, you know, maybe you go over to visit your parents, you have Duncan and Shaw, there's too much commotion with the boys, you want to have them settle down, but you don't have your placemats, down. Okay? But this is very specific. It has to be this type of position. He can't sit up, he cannot stand up. Okay? Sometimes what you might see with some smart ass dogs is you'll down them.
Little arm crawl.
Little arm and crawl,
Okay.
exactly, right?
Yeah.
So if I start to see that,
Yeah.
I immediately just begin with a tap.
Yeah.
Don't think about it, okay? What would we expect in the beginning?
They would get up and try to go.
Correct, right? So all you would do is you would keep the pressure on, grab your leash, lead them back general area, continue with the pressure, I do not repeat the command, they self-correct, I drop the leash, I walk away. Okay, and they've just learned over time to decipher, oh,
Don't do that.
don't do that,
Yeah.
exactly, stay in place. Kind of like, I think I took the placement with my Pitty when she was a puppy.
Yeah.
She was like sprawled out like this, touching the bed, yeah. I wish I would have gotten a picture of that too, because I was like, but this was like way back when phones were just starting to take pictures.
Still touching it.
So, questions? So, downwards pressure means down. What do we think upwards pressure would mean?
Get up.
What else?
Let's go back to sit.
Go back to sit, correct, right? So here, when Duncan prematurely tap. There we go, super excited dad's here. When he prematurely downed, and then the light pressure paired with the tap, and he sat back up again, right? So it was like a nonverbal sit. I think a lot of people think, like in that moment when he prematurely downed, it wasn't really a sit. Okay, it was a sitting position, but really what I told him was, you can't lay down. That was the real conversation, okay? But when people see these like responses, I think they lock into like, oh, you told the dog to sit. I'm like, not really, I just didn't want the dog to lay down. He could be standing for all I care. I just didn't want that position.
Right.
Same thing when like, if I get a dog that's like really anxious and they're super just like,
Yeah.
follow, like the energy's gotta go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And I'll pull up and I'll start remoting. And then the owner's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to get the dog, to put the butt down. They're like, oh, my dog knows sit, just tell him sit. I'm like, it's not the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Sit is mechanical response. What I'm doing here is saying, stop being anxious and just relax.
Yeah.
But it looks like a sit. So it's like if someone comes into your home, you're like, oh, go ahead and relax, have a seat. It's really just come home and relax,
Yeah.
right? Same thing for the dog. When we give verbal cues, it's obedience, okay? When it's nonverbal in my book, and I'm using pressure to get them to do things, it's more so behavioral, okay? So here, with this guy, Rick, if I want him to sit, for instance, while I'm moving here, all I would do is pull up and tap, not the placement, okay? So, yeah. The fact that we say sit or down doesn't mean anything, okay? These are all nonverbal cues, but this is just as reliable as an actual sit because of the fact of pressure, okay? We put cues to things so that we have the control in the moment that we should need it. Oh, I need you to put your butt down, sit, okay? So here, All these guys, of course, have been conditioned, both with pressure of the leash and then with the verbal cue. So I'm not worried about the sit now, just going over how we taught it. Break. So again, we're walking, he's free, and then I decide, I want you to put your butt down, and I pull up and tap, and then he responds accordingly. And in this moment, he's not supposed to move, right? I know, buddy. With this particular sit, I'm keeping my movement, right? Do we know, or can we assume kind of like why that is?
So he doesn't like break away from it while you're moving around.
Right. Because when we teach things, it tends to be very repetitive. Most people, when they teach sit, they'll teach it here. Sit, and they give you treats, right?
Yeah.
And you'll tell your dog to sit, and they'll walk across the room, and they'll sit right in front of you, because that's where it's always been rewarded, right? I want to start removing myself from the command. I want them to recognize or associate sit means just put your butt down. Don't look to me as a reference. So if I say sit and he's there, he should sit, even if I can't see him, okay? If he's around the corner of the house and I say sit, I should be able to walk around the corner and he's sitting, okay? So if it's always here or here, he's gonna start associate that's where sit's supposed to be. So I'm keeping my movement to start disassociating myself. We would do the same thing with the down. This is how we start building emergency commands. Are you familiar with emergency commands? So let's say Duncan's running towards the street. You technically have a couple of choices. What's one of them to get him, to prevent him from running the street? Recall. Come call, right? What's another one? Or down, right? Emergency sit or emergency down. Whatever you're doing, do this instead. Yep. What's your number?
25.
Go to 32. Jack's being super needy. Yep. There we go. Yep. There we go. Oh, he's giving me this back too. It's like, fine, Dad, fine, screw you. So, if we're gonna be building these commands, I start this stuff right away. Because then we always do that sit from here, and then when we try to build emergency sets, it's gonna be more complicated, right? So, we can start that process of don't worry about me, just do this when I say so, by just doing what I did, right? So I'm walking with Duncan here, he's not gonna heel, he's technically free, he can do as he pleases, we're moving around, and all of a sudden I go tap. And I didn't have to stop my motion, right? So I'm getting him used to going into a stationary position while he's moving is the other thing, okay? Because if he's chasing after something, he's running, right? He's gonna have to learn to put the brakes on. So we're planting that seed of, hey buddy, when you're moving, I might give you a command. If you're playing with Shaw, I might give you a command. When you're chasing a squirrel, I might give you a command. So then he's being conditioned to always keep like a part of that brain paying attention to you, being engaged, okay? So now, same thing, right? When I'm moving with him, now I'm gonna start using the verbal cue. Sit, tap, good. Tap. Good. Break. I know life's rough. Sit. Good. Now, one personal preference of mine is that when I release, I always release next to the dog. Okay? The reason is, let's say we put him in a down, I have to go do something 20 feet away. If I've released him from 20 feet away, he might assume or mishear something, right? So if I make it super clear and very black and white, if I only release you when I'm in your immediate vicinity, I avoid that problem, okay? It's not to say that you can't, but if you did that and you started to realize or notice, oh crap, Duncan's prematurely breaking now from a distance, you would have to fix that problem, okay? So most dog owners don't want to have more work on their plate, so they tend to opt not to do that. It's nothing good or bad, it's just, I like making things easier, so I have less to worry about. And also for the dog, it's a bit more clear. So if I pick up his leash, a lot of people break their dog, right? Why not? Or why? When I can use it as another trick, right? You need some head and shoulders.
Yeah. He's very dangerous.
Break. Is it the protein thing?
It must be, I don't know, I've heard mixed things about like, he needs to be, what's your opinion on kibble versus raw stuff?
So raw is definitely way better.
It is,
Okay.
I just don't
So-
know how to do that if it's technically, if that protein thing that the vet just told me is true.
Right.
I don't know how to do that.
Correct.
Or if it's not true and they just told me that because they didn't want to figure out what was actually happening, or I don't know.
So first thing I would say is when he was on regular kibble, what was the issue?
He just had constant diarrhea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now he's on the,
The hydrolyzed expensive shit that's back there, yeah.
yeah, and I think his poop's actually been normal.
Yeah, it usually is when he's eating that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just the protein is like processed differently?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the only real way to figure this out, whether or not it would work, is to
Try it.
try it, right?
Yeah.
Maddie, my other trainer, she's my puppy trainer.
Yeah.
She's also my nutrition specialist.
Okay.
She knows raw diet at the back of her hand. So I had another client whose dog got constant ear infections. She thought it might be yeast.
Yeah.
So like every 3 months they're going to the vet.
Yeah.
They're going to the vet. And there was constant treatment, plus the dog didn't like the ear thing.
Yeah.
So then I was like, talk to Maddie, it could be diet-based. And I don't think the dog's been back to the vet in like, going on 9 months,
Yeah.
you know? So it was, because dogs aren't supposed to be eating kibble,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
It's processed, there's a lot of stuff in there that's not supposed to be in there. That would be one thing. When you were feeding them kibble, what brand of food were you feeding them?
The one that's back there, the
Pro plan.
Pro.
Okay.
Yeah.
So ProPlan is actually a mer food.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah. We keep, every like vet we go to is something different.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason why vets have their opinions is they're backed
I know.
by
Yeah,
certain foods.
certain people, yeah.
They're ProPlan is actually Purina.
Yeah.
Purina's like one of the worst, right? And I went to it was some kind of like seminar at a clinic, and they had all these like pedigree posters up, and they had a representative, and they're talking and stuff, and I was like, well, how do you explain this and this and this and this, right?
Yeah.
Raised my hand, and they just shut me down. The vet came out, doctor so and so, right? And he was like, no, we recommend pedigree to all our dogs, this and that,
Yeah.
and I felt really stupid, and I was like, I don't care about being backed by anybody, right?
Yeah.
Good food is good food.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you want to experiment, what I usually turn people to is Signature. It's what I used to feed my guys. Okay, they have 12 different types of proteins. It's limited ingredient. I believe it's grain-free, and then there's a whole grain-free spiel.
I know. Is that good or bad?
So, all right,
Nutrition lesson.
McDonald's feeds millions of people a day. Someone's bound to get salmonella poisoning.
Yeah.
Bound to happen. Your
Yeah.
processing that much meat, right? Bound to happen. Same thing with these foods, right? And I don't remember it as well as I knew back then when it was like a few months ago,
Yeah.
is you're looking at a study of a few dogs and they're representing thousands
Yeah.
of dogs. So it's like one teacher of mine put it, he's like, it's all about your genetics. We have people that smoke cigarettes, packs a day, and live to be 90. And you get someone who smokes a couple of packs for a couple of years, I mean, not a couple of packs, but like, a pack a week for a couple of years and gets lung cancer. Genetics, right? So here, same thing with the grain-free stuff,
Yeah.
okay? I think people just freak out,
Yeah.
okay? So dogs are meant to eat raw. Raw is very time-consuming, can also be very expensive.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, I have someone who can absolutely help you.
Yeah.
Or you can just feed a better kibble.
Yeah.
If we see you move him to a better kibble, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
And you try different proteins because they have kangaroo, they have boar, they have lamb, they have like Alaskan whitefish. They have all these different types of proteins.
Mhm.
And if it's just the same problem, then I would say, you know what, you could try raw.
Yeah.
If it's still the same problem, then I would say yes, your dog has some kind of digestive issue.
Mhm.
But you're gonna have to deal with that diarrhea for a little bit,
Yeah.
right? For these guys, I would expect to see a little bit of loose stool.
Mhm.
Typically it takes a couple of days to get over.
Mhm.
It should clear up and it should go back to normal poop.
Yeah.
You should see less poop because there's more nutrition
Yeah.
packed in less food. So it's like eating McDonald's every day.
Yeah.
Like that guy in the documentary, his health declined greatly, right?
Mhm.
Same thing with the kibble. I like to rotate proteins every bag. Okay, so if we start this when dogs are puppies, they learn to they develop the enzymes needed to break down proteins. So way back when I worked for PetSmart, we had 2 people come in and they fed their dogs ProPlan since the day they were born for years, and then ProPlan discontinued a brand or they changed the formula. Person comes in, I don't know what to feed my dog. They have constant diarrhea. Their fur is falling out. They're breaking out in hives. Their fur is super red. They're vomiting. Blah blah blah. Right? And I was just like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
And then as I asked more questions, they're like, "My dog's eaten this their entire life." I'm like, "There's the problem."
Yeah.
Then I met with a lady who owned her own pet food store, and she's the one who kind of closed that gap. And she says, "Oh, and I also recommend for your puppy because that's when I first got my pit bull. Change the protein every bag." And I go, "Why?" She goes, "Because their bodies don't have the enzymes that break proteins down unless you expose them to the protein." So I go, "Oh, that makes sense." And since I started her when she was a puppy, I can literally change my dog's food on a dime. Oh crap, run out of food? No biggie. Let's go to the store.
Yeah.
Different protein, different brand, no issues. Okay. If you give them a protein like for salmon and it's constant diarrhea, I would just say their body genetically cannot handle the food. You cross it off the menu, there's nothing you can do. You go into something else, like my buddy who's allergic to seafood.
Yeah.
He can't eat seafood, his throat will close up, right? Same kind of concept. So if that's something you'd like to experiment with, we're more than happy to help you. And there's also, I recently switched my dogs to pet once. So my pit, Lexi, they were on signature before, and then she just recently turned 8 or so, and she ended up getting partial face paralysis, and then she also developed food allergies just out of nowhere. So I was looking for food because she would always get hives, and a friend of mine owns a store. They make their food fresh. It's by batches, so they make so much food for the month. If you don't place your order, the con is you may not get your food. But as long as you have your order in, you get your food. So it's not sitting on shelves. It's all freshly made. Also, the way that they make it is there's no preservatives. There's more nutrients because they slow cook it and all this other stuff.
Yeah, the high pressure of making the kibble is supposed to produce carcinogens or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she has a food, and I've been feeding my pit on it now. I switched since her allergy thing, and she's been doing great here for her coat's super shiny. I'm not seeing any more of those allergies. The only con is they only have 2 different types of proteins, but at this point it's it doesn't matter anymore. But yeah, we can definitely help you with that stuff. Okay? So I've been blabbing my mouth.
No, he's still sitting.
He's still sitting, right? He made a couple mistakes.
Yeah.
And I corrected him.
Close.
Now this here, I would not do.
Yeah.
Realistically speaking, okay? If I know I'm gonna, let's say you're walking the boys, you see a friend of yours, and you know it's gonna be a conversation, you wanna jump to that down, right? It's uncomfortable for a dog to sit for this period of time, but I did it more so to prove a point.
Yeah.
I know I moved it, buddy. There you go. He's like, I assumed earlier, Jesse, so make up your mind, right?
Bless you. Wow.
He made a couple of mistakes, but overall he sat for about 20 minutes, right? That's the kind of discipline that we're looking for. We shoot above and beyond what the norm is, because there's always going to be some degree of regression, okay? But if I'm only shooting for the 80, 90%, because I'm like, yeah, it's good for the normal dog owner, I know most of the owners take the dog, it's going to be like 50, 60, it's going to be even less. So we want 110, 120%, so that when it drops down, you're still getting that 90, okay? Questions about this? Who wants to work first with Jack or Shaw here?
Go ahead with check.
Go check.
Shall I be sleeping?
He just came, no, he should be fine, he just came back. So I'm gonna have you first, work with the down, and I'm gonna have you do the down via the shoulder touch, okay?
Okay. What do we keep? We started at 20?
We go down to like 15 or so, and we'll adjust as needed.
Break.
There you go. You're at 15, right?
Yeah.
Let's go down to like 10. Did you see kind of how,
Jerk a little
abrupt,
bit.
and jerk, exactly. That tells me really good contact, okay? Whenever you're ready.
Break.
Perfect.
I was so fast, check.
Mhm. Good. Like, he just came back too from like
He's
the
got
walk.
so much energy.
Yeah, he's got a lot of energy.
Okay, we'll do 3 more.
Break. Yeah, he wants to go hunt.
Hi, check.
Very good.
He's gonna run me crawl now.
There he goes. Okay. And we're gonna ignore this. We're gonna see what happens here, okay? So he's getting a little playful. He's happy dad's back, right? Give a tap here. There we go. Good. Good.
Right.
And when we down him here,
Yeah,
he's actually pretty chill.
yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Break.
Good. So now, you're gonna do the same thing, but instead of the hand, you're gonna cue the word down first. You're gonna go to tapping next, see if he responds to the tapping or the word itself.
Okay.
If he looks a bit
Right.
confused, go ahead and the hand and help him.
Down.
Good.
Smart. Such a spaz.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 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 There he goes. Good. So right there, he spazzes out, he gets tangled up, you remove the leash, and it confused him, right? Because he thinks,
Thought he
oh,
was
get
done,
up.
yeah.
You kick in no words with the remote, he lays back down again. Okay, so that's good association.
That's gonna be my hardest part, is not using the words, because I
Yeah.
always go to the words right away, but.
And it takes time, but once you get used to it, it's like
Yeah.
second nature. We'll do 3 more just
Great.
like that.
Down.
A little bit of pressure towards you to keep him from, there we go, like that. Just to pull him from scratching there. Good, and break. 2
Break.
more.
I don't think she ran him enough. Down.
Now a little bit of pressure towards you. There you go. Yep, yep, yep. Good. Just like that. So like right there, he makes a mistake. Goes to place, right? And without needing to repeat the command, he was able to still do it, about 10 seconds later. Okay? So I've seen dogs attach things even after a length of time, but our assumption is they can't do it. In my experience, they can't. It's just a matter of making them do so. Okay? One more.
Break.
Hi, buddy.
Down.
Good. Questions so far? Pretty easy.
Please be more dramatic, Jack.
There you go.
There it is.
You asked
You asked
for
for
it.
it.
I'm gonna have you release him, and then I'm gonna have you move to the sits. So the first round of sits that you'll do, he's walking beside you, and you're gonna grab a little bit higher, so that when you pull up and tap, you don't have to be all the way like this.
Okay.
It'll be like that, and you wanna keep your movement, and then ease the leash once he puts his butt down, and then walk around, back and break, and repeat.
Break. He farts when he sits down.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Break.
Tip, good, up, tip, 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 yep, yep. And here you might need to increase your remote pressure. Yep, there you go. And relax. What did you end up going up to?
22.
Okay. Go ahead and continue moving around them. And that was a low degree of what Duncan did earlier.
Really? Yeah.
Because in his, like, he wants to be playful, right?
Yeah.
And we're telling him, like, right now is not the time to play.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, this is doing
You know.
good.
Break.
Yeah, we'll do one more. Good.
Break.
So now, with this round, same thing, but you're gonna cue the word sit first. Start tapping. If that butt doesn't go down, then you'll kick him with the leash.
Sit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good.
You can do that.
Good.
Break. Sit.
Mm-hmm. Good. Good. Break.
Break. Sit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Good. Yep. Yep. Now relax. Good. So he's gonna probably lay down, which is okay. because you technically have to allow them to do it. Yep, tip, 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 up, tip. A little bit more remote pressure. 28 or so, tip. Yep. 35. Yep. 40. Yep, there it is, almost tip. And pause. Relax. Tip, 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 yep. Yep, almost. And relax. And wait a moment. Very good. Yep. Good. I'm gonna wait a moment. What's your number now?
50.
50. Oh, they're trying to give Duncan a run for his money now. Oh, yeah. So, that fidgeting thing, did you see it? Right? Because when it wasn't bothering him, he was sniffing the ground, sniffing his butt, like whatever. And then once you start to get in that 40s, 50s range, you started to like kind of like perk up a bit, right? And that's how you can recognize, oh, I'm at the right number. When I do this myself, it's a pretty quick increase because I can usually tell with the first tap.
Yeah.
For you while you're learning, it's okay that you take your time, but eventually, if for whatever reason the dog's being like resistant, what can happen is that took you like maybe a minute to 2 minutes to get to 50, right? Is for some dogs, it's worth being a little brat during that 1 to 2 minutes. Yep. And up. And now down. Yep. Go down to like 20. There you go. Because now he's feeling the full power. Okay. It'll be worth being a brat for 1 to 2 minutes until you hit 50. You know? Because then it's like, oh, I got some time, right? And then so once I recognize the pattern or I recognize that 50 is just their number, it's, 20, 35, 50, like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
So he thinks, crap, I can't even go 5 seconds without this hitting 50. I'm just going to be compliant right off the bat. Here, because you broke resistance and you were still at 50, right? What did we do with Duncan earlier?
We went back down.
We went down, right? So as a default, once I get the dog to comply, I'll always reset, because then that'll happen, right? Because he's now no longer being in brat mode.
Yeah.
Now it's more like, okay, I guess I'll do it mode, right? If for whatever reason we get a hit, overhit, whatever, just like you did, you don't make a big deal about it. You just, okay, adjust the number, it is what it is. Because then if you make a big deal, then the dog thinks it is a big deal, okay, as opposed to it is what it is, okay? Let's go ahead and break, and we'll do 2 more of the sits.
Break.
Sit. Yep. There you go. Up. Yep. Good. Relax. Good. You're at 20, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to 12. Did you see how spazzy he was?
Yeah.
Yep. So, we're in constant communication with each other. When we do the remote, it should be quick response, not freak out, then response, right? And that's how you can tell if I'm too high or too low, or a really big kind of vocal reaction. Or if you feel like, man, you're really overreacting to this, we're probably too high, right? So then I adjust it again. Otherwise, if you put too much pressure on them, you'll create a panicky dog, okay? I'm going to move around a little bit. Good.
I know I tugged on you a little bit there, so you thought you were supposed to go.
Good. And break 1 more.
Break. Sit.
Good.
Girl, save me.
You can't, sorry.
Good. So what I'm going to have you do is take Jack, and I'm going to have you just down him here, and I'll have you have a seat, okay?
Break.
can't see anybody.
Mhm.
Down.
Good, one drop of leash and have a seat. All right, yeah, I know. So I anticipate he's gonna make a couple mistakes, right? So this way, when he does, we can correct him and you learn how to do that. Let's go and take Shaw.
Break.
So, what are a couple of things that would provoke Jack to break position?
His mom goes to have a shot.
There's that. What else?
There's a command to break that she gave to.
Correct.
Shaw.
Yeah, right. A little bit. Could be confused. What else?
Wants to go back by him.
Yep. What else?
He just wants to run around.
Close. Getting closer. There's two things. So, the two things that may happen right now is one, he's gonna be there for too long
Okay.
and get bored because I'm gonna have you work with Shaw.
Okay.
The other thing is Shaw's energy.
Okay.
Let's say you're working with him and he panics.
Mhm.
I would assume his energy, it's gonna make him wanna do something, okay? So these are things just as a heads up so that you're ahead of the game, right? So I've done this for so long with so many different dogs that I can anticipate real common issues and it puts me a step ahead, right? So if we see Jaw, I was gonna say Jaw.
What's your couple name?
Jock.
Jock. And we see Jock. If we see Jack get up, first thing I want you to go to is just the remote. Ideally, he should stop, go back into position. If he doesn't, you just get up, come over, grab, step on his leash, pick it up. We don't say anything. Lead him back general area. Keep the pressure on. He lays back down, drop the leash, walk away. Okay? And then just act as if nothing happened. Okay? So for Shaw here, we're going to start with the downs. What's your number?
12.
Okay. So go ahead and put him in a sitting position. So lightly pull up. Okay. There he goes. Good. Okay. And you can pet him. And what I also like to do is I'll pet around the shoulders, right? Because I don't want him to assume every time I touch the shoulders it means to lay down. It's the touch paired with the remote that means to lay down. Okay.
You're such a great boy.
Tip. And then you're going to wait a second. And then you're going to lightly press on the shoulders and tip. Yep. Good. And praise. Now, when you release him, I'm going to have you say his name first, then break, and I'm going to have you keep the energy taper down for the release.
Shot. Break.
And we're going to repeat a handful of those, so 4 more. Good. Now, when you're putting pressure on his back, how much pressure are you putting? Put your hand over.
Him.
Super light.
Okay.
You want the tip. Good. You want the remote to do the bulk of the work.
Okay.
Okay? 3 more.
Shot. Break.
Go ahead and go down to like 8. And I think when I taught Shaw down, it was actually like 9 or something.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And then up for the sit. Yep. Good. Good. He's not the fastest, but he does it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do 2 more.
Shot. Break.
Good.
Shot. Break.
very simple. So that's of course how we taught it. Now we're gonna go and start doing the command. Tip, 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 and leash, tip, 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 tip. What's your number right now? 50?
15.
Oh, I was like, oh, he was not feeling that at all. We'll go to 25 for the next one. I almost thought he was, because when you got up and you tapped, he curled around. I'm like, cool, he's going to correct, and then you ran away.
I thought it was too, yeah, I thought he was gonna go back, but
Yeah,
then
it's okay.
changed his mind. He's like, I don't wanna lay on the floor, I wanna lay on the bed.
Shall
Also,
we?
we do a batch of 5 with the cue of down, okay?
Down. Shall break?
I tap him to settle it up, that'll make him probably break out. And
Yeah, so, and I was actually just thinking that myself. Yep, tap, 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 tap.
Down.
Tap, 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 tap. There he goes. Good. You can step away. Let's go to like 33.
Shall break? Down. Shall break? Now.
Yep. 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 Good kiss, buddy. Yep. 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 There you go. And then step away. Let's try 37.
Shall break?
Do a couple more with Shaw.
Down.
Slower taps. Yep. 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 And then leash. Yep. 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 There we go. And step away. Good. Somebody passed gas around here.
Shall break?
Good. You're 37, right?
35.
35. Let's try 38.
Down.
Yep, yep. 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 There you go. Good. We're gonna hold for a second, okay? I'm noticing a couple of things, right? Here, this is expected, right? Because I was like, length of time, and then that whole windiness. So we started at what number for Jack?
22.
22, okay. And then each time you corrected them, I had you gradually go up. So what we're trying to find here is the number that's gonna make Jack think, do I really wanna get up again? Right, so it's like gradual increase. The other thing that I'm looking for is at what number does he end up just shutting up? The whining is, I don't wanna be laying here, I wanna be next to you, Dad, right? So, if we find we're at 38 now,
Yeah.
all of a sudden on 38, he doesn't get up, or if he does get up, it's in like 20 minutes as opposed to in 2 minutes, and he's quiet, that's the number, okay? The other thing I was noticing is every time you're giving him a command, is he was moving towards the end, okay? It's okay if that happens, we just correct it, we lead him back just like you're doing. When I work with my private clients, I actually don't do this. Okay, at least not this early. I'm doing this for you so that when you take them home and you're utilizing your obedience, you have a foundation of how to correct it if you're doing it down from a distance. What I would do is actually this. I'd have the dog right next to me or at my feet in the down, so it's much easier to correct.
Right.
Okay, so go ahead and drop Shaw's leash and go ahead and have a seat, please. Did I talk to you with the place command how I do duration work at home at
We're
first?
talking about
Kind of,
duration
yeah.
this week, yeah.
Yeah, where I was like, I want to make things super easy in the beginning. I'll have the bed right here, tap, 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 leash, tap, and go ahead and bump it to like 13, 14, tap, 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 and then relax, tap, tap.
Down. I wasn't supposed to do that.
It's okay. Okay, drop leash, yep. Almost. See how uncomfortable he is?
Yeah.
He is most likely gonna get up because of that positioning, okay? Is if I did the down at home, the dog would be down here, I would be stepping on the leash, I'm watching a movie. If they try to get up, they're not gonna get anywhere, I'm stepping on the leash. I correct them, they lay back down again, right? I do that for a week. The next week, they're down, and I'll get up intermittently to do something and come back, they don't move, but they're in the same spot next to me. The third week is, okay, now you're down a little bit away from me, because you're trying to get time in correcting things, so that by the time you get here, you tap him and he should just lay down right here, right? We're making it easier. Here, I'm pushing it, knowing that we're gonna get mistakes so that you can see how you correct them.
Right.
When we lead the dog back, you're perfect. You didn't say anything. You brought Jack over here. Remote, kept the pressure on. The only thing that I would change is I wouldn't do the leash tuck.
Okay.
I would let the remote get him to lay down, even if it took you a minute. Okay, because you're telling him, look, buddy, you're in a great position. Go ahead. I'm not going to help you figure out the solution, right? So it takes him longer. So the fact that it took him longer and he had to deal with this makes him less inclined to want to break it again. Because he's like, I don't want to figure that out again, right? The other thing, crap, I lost my train of thought. Remember, I'll bring it up. But yeah, so let's say Jack got up, he tapped, and he's actually not trying to trick us and lays down. I don't even get up, right? The tap itself got him to self-correct, so then I don't even need to move. Otherwise, we make us getting up and leading them back part of the process. The other thing I think I spoke about was tethering, right? It's the same thing here. You got a kitchen table, put the leash around the leg, down him, so then if he tries to move, you're not going to get anywhere, you're stuck to that one thing, and you can make him figure it out without even having to get up, right? And it's just the same once you are at the point where there's no leash, it's the same learning process. Okay, it doesn't affect his performance at all. Okay, so question so far. So on the 38, he was quiet for about 3 to 5 minutes. It's not too bad, right? It's still much better than before because it was as soon as you down him, instantaneous whining, right? So I do keep tabs on that because that does make a difference. I'm gonna have you work with Shaw a couple more times to see how he does with this current number.
Shot break.
He's allergic to school.
Down.
Yeah, see that? Very gentle tap, just do the back tap. Yep. Well, I know what we need to work on. Yep. 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 Good, like that. There you go. You just step away. Yeah, because he did the same thing the last few times, right? And little things like that are good to pick up on if you can. A lot of people would think oh, he's just being a jerk or just being really pushy. There's some kind of confusion in the brain going on right now. He's thinking he needs to go to place for whatever reason.
Yeah, shot break.
Yep.
Down.
Yep. 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 So go ahead and hand me the end of your leash. It'll make life a little easier on the next one. You're at 38, right?
I bumped it up to 40, just
40?
a little bit more juice.
Yep. Yep. Yep, you're good. Yep. 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 So here, you see how I try to limit how much I was doing, right? Go to what number you're at?
40.
Let's go to 46. And we're gonna push this whole down thing because clearly it's an issue, okay? Go ahead.
Short break. Nope. Down.
Tip. 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 Repeat.
Short break. Down.
You try for 3 more.
Short break. Down.
He flinched that time, he didn't get up.
Short break.
He actually flinched and then put his head down. Like,
Turn the other way.
yeah, like, okay, I'm later.
Down.
And I'm gonna have you down shawl right next to him, right there by that outlet.
Okay. Short break. Down.
Go and drop your leash. That's the point. So, for whatever reason, Jack was responding to your down. Yep. Perfect. So then once I start to see it happen, I start to notice, oh, he's triggering every time she says this command, right? It could be your energy, because earlier I was like, be softer on the release, just to make it a bit easier, but then your downs were still like down, right? It's okay. Then I start to pick up, oh, he's making mistakes. So then we do the leaning back, right? And I go, okay, let's just make things a little bit easier for the sake of practice. This is why I start off with here, right, for the first couple of weeks, because they're going to make a lot of mistakes, much easier to correct. And I get a lot of clients will teach it, and then I'll come back the next week, how to go, Jesse was terrible, my dog kept getting up, and like I kept having like walking him back. I'm like, what do you mean walking him back? They're like, yeah, I downed him over there. I'm like, and the couch is over here. I was like, why would you do that? Like, you just made more work for yourself.
Right.
You know, make it easy, like build to that, right?
Down close so you can control them.
Exactly, because we're still conditioning. When you feel this, you go back to this without the running away or running to other areas, right?
Yeah.
And then by the time you get 2 weeks of practice, the dog has a really good notion of like, oh, tap means to go back down again, not to go into like runaway mode. But questions about this so far? Okay, let me have you come and take Mr. Duncan. Check.
There's too many of them.
Yeah, so I'll work with Mr. Sean here.
Buddy, do a nice nap. Stepping break.
And I'll have you do the same thing. You'll start off with the hand pressure.
Okay.
Yep. Then you'll do the downs, and then you go into the sits.
Take a break.
Do one more.
Take a break.
Good. Excellent. So then same thing, next batch, you'll start using the cue, kick it in with the remote, hand if needed.
Take a break. Down. Take a break.
Just wants to go to sleep.
I know, that's very tired.
All this training is hard work.
Down.
Perfect. Yep. Almost there. Still kind of, it's still technically there it is.
There it is.
Go with
Like, I know you just made me stand up again,
I
so
know.
I'm not going all the way down.
I'm just trying to make it easier for yourself, huh? Take a break. Down.
Good move. Yep.
Down.
Good. And last one.
Take a break. Down.
Good. We're gonna leave Duncan there. And we're gonna swap, we'll get back to Shaw. Because you didn't do the sits with Shaw, right? You just did the downs. So you'll release Shaw and you'll work on the sits. Correct. Good job. Very good.
Will he ever not look so like uncomfortable in this?
Yes, it will take time.
Okay.
Because
Break.
the main thing is, he's in an environment that's not his home,
Okay.
right? That's a big part of it. And also it's associated to us, not you. And part of the reason for taking them out is one, practice in the real world.
Mhm.
The other is to get them out. Like, hey, but like, this means freedom, like,
Yeah.
this means we go places,
Yeah.
right? So then the dogs just like look forward. Like my dogs come running when they hear the e-collars because they know it means running in the fields,
Mhm.
chasing
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
you know, being off leash and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas for him, he hasn't seen that part of life yet because it's, you know, we're boot camp.
Mhm.
And of course, when he's with you and he's comfortable and back in his environment, you know, we should start to see a gradual change, but it might take a little bit, okay?
Yeah, he's a little sad sack.
Yeah.
This one. With forward or backward?
First without, so then just the upwards pressure and attack. And walk around him, you should stay put. And real quick before I forget, do you remember how Shaw looked last time?
He was even more anxious.
How so?
He was like kind of curled up and his back was like divoted almost, like
Really hunched
Yeah.
in? Sure, what else?
he was panting a lot.
Yeah,
Really?
now the panting's starting to happen, right?
Mhm.
So
He's
here,
starting to shake a little bit now too.
yeah, is, that actually didn't just start till now,
Yeah.
right? So he went that first chunk,
Yeah.
no panting,
Mhm.
and now he's starting to pant now. It's not a bad thing,
Mhm.
but it was like he went a bit with, like, look at these guys,
Mhm.
chill as can be.
Yeah.
And he got remoted where he was a bit,
Mhm.
right? And he just recovered from it, right? He just has a longer recovery time. So with the more exposure, especially exposure with you with pressure, you should start to notice like less and 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 less. So eventually it's just okay, it's just part of life. I don't have to stress out anymore. Okay?
Just break.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Correct. Good.
Just break.
Good.
Break.
One more. Good. So now you do the same thing, but you're gonna put the word first.
Just break. Sit.
Mm-hmm. Good. Find them around them. Mhm. Good.
Just break.
One more.
Sit. Just break.
Three more.
Sit. Just break. Sit.
Good. What I'm gonna have you do is downhill, right?
Parallel.
To character.
Just break. Down.
Good. Arm drop, and then you'll take Duncan. And because we haven't done sits with Duncan, right?
No.
I have to do that. Oh well.
Shot, yeah.
And break.
There it is.
Take a break.
That's Duncan.
I said nothing.
There's the show.
No. Take a break. Break.
Good. And then we'll do a batch of 5 with the cue now.
Take a break. Sit.
Good.
And break. Sit. And a break. Sit. Break. Sit. Down. Love your brother, I know.
So for Jackie Boy,
Mm-hmm.
once we hit that number, whatever we're at right now, the correct.
Yep.
Yep, right. Big. So that's how I find or know what's the appropriate number.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to teach the behavior, then we have to practice it and allow them to have mistakes, and then we go into application. Applied dog training is the most important dog training, which is why we take them out. Because everybody struggles with, my dog does great during these 10 to 15 minutes, but then when I try to use it in real life, they do terribly. Like, because you're expecting it to just transfer.
Yeah.
It goes from, we teach it, we make mistakes during training, we clear up the mistakes, to we go start to apply it, we make mistakes as we apply it, and the dog understands, oh, heel in Home Depot, and heel at home, yeah, heel at the park, heel at the trail, it's all the same. And allowing mistakes to happen, letting them happen, correcting them. Like, again, these guys aren't meant to be doing this stuff on command. We've created this, so it'd be a bit unfair to just expect them to learn it and expect them to be perfect, right? I look at mistakes as opportunities. An opportunity to teach them that, or to what not to do again, right? And again, we're jumping, making a big jump here to kind of see what we may potentially see and how to correct it. But it would be stages, right? And we're doing all those stages for you. But when I work with you in your home, I will tell you the same thing, because we have to transfer everything, that you be doing stages of progressing through obedience in the home until eventually you get them to the degree that we know they're trained at, okay? Questions so far? So with the application would be like, go to your friend's house, you don't have a dog bed with you, you have this. Go to a restaurant patio, you don't want to bring a towel with you, whatever, we go to this, okay? Stays implied, the way we apply it is by every time they get up, like someone, like Jack here, we correct them, we lead them back, right? And we just keep adjusting that number until we find that number where he goes, you know what, getting up and breaking this position is not in my best interest, okay? Let's go ahead, I'm going to add some distraction here. Let's go ahead, I'm going to have you grab Jack. You're going to pick up your leash, anticipating he might get up. I have Shaw. And pause for a moment. And you're going to say his name first before you release him, okay?
Jack, break.
Good, and you can go ahead and place Jack. Oh, wow.
I was laying down for so long that, oh my God.
Jack, place.
He's like, now this I can
I know,
do.
this
Yeah.
I like.
Because it's
He's been right
comfortable.
here.
Yep, there you go. There it is. Much faster settle. Okay. So when working with more than one dog, when it comes to using the names, if you're talking to one dog specifically, when you're talking to one dog specifically, you want to cue the name first and then the command, okay? If you're talking to the dogs generally, it's just the flat command, right? So like if I have my dogs off leash and we're at the park and I say come, it's a general, everybody comes, right? If I'm talking to one specifically, I would cue Lexi, and she should only come In some cases, they may all come because they're being cautious. They're being cautious. They're going, you know what, Dad called one of us,
Yeah,
let's just
might as
all
well
go
go.
just in case.
Just in case,
Yeah, right. Same thing with the down. You know, we'll push them as much as we can. So if these guys are in a group of play and we said down, they should technically all down, okay? Unless we're talking to one specifically. Right now, because Duncan is getting a little distracted. Do you know why I hissed at him?
Get his attention.
What
Get
else?
on you.
Get him to refocus on what he's supposed to be doing.
Close, what else? Who is he bothering?
Shaw.
Yes. Okay. He started to sniff at Shaw, and Shaw started to pull away. So he was saying, bro, we're working right now.
Yeah.
You're going to get me in trouble. Right? I see that. I step into the hiss, Cesar Millan influence means I disagree with what you're doing. Now, interesting enough, it only applied to Duncan, right? Like Shaw didn't really take any
Offense or anything to it, yeah.
correct, because he wasn't actively doing anything. Duncan was, right? So I told them through that sound, I disagree with you sniffing at Shaw, because I can see Shaw going, don't get me in trouble, like I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You want to be able to see things like that and recognize those things, okay? So, if you don't create a structure and step in or advocate for each individual dog, they will advocate for themselves, which doesn't go well, as we've learned,
Yes.
right? So, it doesn't matter why he would be bothered. It's just that he's bothered. So, like as a human, if someone's like bothering you, do you have to have a reason to tell them to back off? No, right? Even if it wasn't their intention, right? Same thing here, except if Sean goes like, you know what? If you're not going to back off, I'm going to make you back off, right? So then I step in. Shaw sees this. He goes, oh, you know, when I'm with Jesse, he does this. And he's a jerk and he makes us lay down next to each other, right? He's my big dopey brother. He will step in.
If he does something.
Exactly, right? This has nothing to do with intelligence. This is just simply instinctual behavior. There has to be a dominant energy, and in this case, it's us, right? I know a lot of people will think, let the dogs handle it. That's how you end up with a dead dog.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've walked in the homes with dead dogs because of stuff like this. Humans, we know what we want and don't want, right? Because in their world, if a dog kills another dog, it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Right? There's no cops and no dog cops, right? There's no one to arrest them. It is what it is. But when we have dogs that belong to someone within the same household, that's when things get tricky. Or if it's your friend's dog, right? Now that dog is owned by someone else, and then we have laws and all these other things, right? So whenever I see dogs having a disagreement or starting to have a disagreement, I always step in. So earlier, I think I mentioned this last time, it's a family of 3 dogs fighting. And one dog is very excited, friendly energy. So they thought, oh, she's so excited, like it's nothing bad. But the other dog was going, your energy is out of hand. You need to cut it out. Then she confronted the excited one, corrected her, and then it started to fight, right? So now, today, we're getting more in depth, and I'm going, yes, I know to you it's positive energy, but the dogs don't like it. And you have to step in, otherwise they'll resolve that issue themselves. It's going to be a bigger problem, okay? It doesn't matter how you feel. Because the first thing is always, oh, but she's so excited.
Right,
I
right.
don't want to stop the excitement.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, if you don't stop the excitement, you're going to end up in a dog fight. So it doesn't matter how you feel about it. This is how you create harmony. You know? Same thing if I don't have kids, but they that do have kids, if I get conflicting personalities, you know, and maybe one kid is a really good kid, but for whatever reason, whatever they're doing is triggering this one, I have to step in and like, it does not matter. This is what it is. And there's going to be consequences, right? To create that harmony. That's why at workplaces, not everybody likes each other, right? But you have to coexist, right? And if you can't coexist, well, then you may lose your job. you know? So same thing for these guys. And of course, when you take them home and you have all this education, you'll start to notice things and see things differently. Where it's like, oh, I thought this was okay because it looked positive, it looked happy, but it turns out it's actually unhealthy. And I'm not saying that he can't ever be that way, but I'm saying when it's appropriate, you know? So like if my mom took me grocery shopping, I wasn't running around screaming, complaining. I was walking and following my mom. And then she took me to the kids' playground. Here, Jesse, go be a kid. Then I could run around and scream all I wanted, but there were still rules, right? Can't bully kids, can't push kids, can't start fights. And then pick me up, go home, and then I was calm, right? Same thing for these guys. If you decide, yes, now we can be excited and play, cool, you create the energy. And then when you decide, okay, we're done, I need you to be chill, you can also create that energy as well. Okay? So that makes sense.
Okay.
Questions so far?
Nope.
The stay. Did I go over that last time? So the word stay.
No.
So stay is implied,
Yeah.
right? Like you just told these guys to lay down, and if they make a mistake, we correct them, we bring them back, so on and so forth, right? The only time I use the word stay is when the dog's already in position. So let's say you take them home, they opt to lay down on their dog bed by choice. It's not a command. They can get up and move as they want. It has no effect on your obedience. But let's say Jack lays down on his bed and you decide, hey, I actually need you to stay there. You could remove him and place
Go
him.
back down again,
Or just go stay. Now it becomes the command, or the position that they're in becomes the command. So if Duncan decides to lay down and you're gonna bring groceries in from outside and stuff, stay. Now it becomes a down command. And then you would correct it as if it were a down command, okay? So where this really kicks into play is when we do the heel. So these guys are already default heeling. Can you see that? When you walk, you're not saying anything if they're walking with you and they're automatically sitting for the most part when you come to a stop. That's the heel, right? So if I'm walking with Duncan and then we're in the heel position and I come to a stop, he is trained to walk with us and to automatically sit, or they're all trained to automatically sit once we do this. If I were to move again, what do you think his inclination is going to be? Exactly. He's going to default to the heel, right? So then here, the sit that's built into it isn't the sit. It's an auto sit. Okay, so heel is a package. Walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop. Okay, so once I've issued that command, they're here, we're walking, whether we're running, walking like a snail, or walking normal pace. Once we slow down and come to that stop, they should automatically sit. And if I move again, because it's heel, moving command, they're going to opt to do that. So then, if they automatically sit, and I decide, I don't want you to move, human logic says, I can't tell them to sit. They're already doing it. I could say down, because I know down. But if I don't want, let's say it's icy on the ground or something, right? I don't want to lay down the ice. Stay. Then I move away, now they don't move. Okay, so now it's creating a separation between moving with me and not moving with me. Okay, let me take, who do we work with last, Duncan? Let me work with, I have Sean, right? Sean, break. We're at 15 here. And this is going to be like a rundown of the heel. Most likely next class, and we'll be working in the big space. Okay, so you can see it in a much bigger room. Okay, so here, I'm going to issue the word heel first. Okay, and what I'm also going to do is move forward with my left leg. Okay, heel. So once I've issued this command, the boys have learned to walk with us, stay with us, and sit when we stop. There's going to be a few more nuances here, Cap. I'm not going to worry about those quite yet. We'll do that the next time. But when we come to a stop, he should automatically sit. You see how he went back a little bit? I'm going to let people forward. Tap, 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 tap. I know you don't like me. 20, tap, tap, tap. 25. tap, tap, 30, tap, tap, 35, tap, 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 40, tap, 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 45, tap, tap. Oop, almost. Good. Did you see that change?
Yeah.
Once I hit 45,
Mhm.
he goes, whoop, and goes straight back to
Yeah.
position, right? That was the resistance.
Mhm.
I take my time, I work him through it. Yep. Yep, I'll lead him. Tap, 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 tap. Good. Almost. Tap, tap, tap. There he goes. Good, sharp, good. $15 now, because it broke resistance earlier. Okay, now I'm gonna try to do something here. 15, 20, 25. See if I can get this to happen. Almost. Almost. There. Do you guys know what I'm trying to create here?
And where he's supposed to be.
Exactly. Exact positioning.
Mhm.
Okay. He decided, so I'm here. I'm gonna sit back here.
Mhm.
Okay. When I started to put him under pressure, that's all I was doing was trying to get him to come from here right to here, close that gap. Initially, they want to do it, go to 45. Then he shoots here. And then I want to finish the rest of it, where he's actually sitting parallel to me. And then he goes, no, I don't like this. And he starts to resist again, and then I went to 25. And eventually, he gives me the positioning. If we also look at his head, he's not as stooped as he was earlier. He's a little bit more up. Ideally, what I wanted was not just like this, but an actually upright sit, okay? We can create that through pressure. But his brain is telling him, you can't do this, and it's using the pressure to work him through it, saying, you can do this. And once he does it, oh, that wasn't too bad. He'll still be stressed, but he's processing like, oh, like this is okay, and I can actually work through it, okay? So here, going back to the obedience part of it, because we're shifting gears. We're going from behavior to obedience, right? And in my experience, we almost always have to work with behavior to get obedience. Even with a really excited dog, okay? That's happy-go-lucky. Because if they're too excited, sit means nothing, you know, down means nothing. You have to calm the excitement down, and then it's like, okay, now you need to do this instead, right? So here, I was working on the auto sit and positioning, which is obedience. He gets overwhelmed with anxiety. I work him through it, so I shift gears. Then once I get that taken care of, I hop back to obedience, okay? In my book, behavior supersedes obedience, okay? So what that means is if I have a dog that's highly dog reactive, and we're walking and the dog is approaching here, obedience tells you, or tells us, your dog walks on your left, right? But then they see this dog and they go, I don't like that. And they opt to come around to my right side. That's technically disobedience.
Yeah.
However, I know the dog is doing it because they're going, well, if I can't be reactive and I can't lunge and bark,
Yeah.
I'm going to give space because I don't like this dog.
Yeah.
I let it go. And then once we pass the dog, you'll literally see them come back around.
Yeah.
Like, no words, it's just a natural response, right? And then owners, they usually get confused. They're like, hey, that was good, but they broke the position. I'm like, that's okay.
Yeah.
In the beginning, we're trying to teach the dog you have options.
Yeah.
as we progress, we may make that dog walk past without switching, just to put the, make them be, because it's not always gonna be an option.
Yeah.
At some point, they're gonna have to walk past, right?
Yeah.
But we build it. So same thing here, if you're working with them and behavior kicks into play, you want to address that first before you try to continue on with any of the obedience stuff. Because if he's anxious and overwhelmed and saying, I can't do this, you're not going to get anywhere. Okay? So we're at 25 and dip it back down. Let's go to 15. So he's in the heel position, right? So if I walk again, Shaw's response should be to follow me. So what I'm going to do here is, since he's on my left side, just take my left hand and say stay and pivot out with my right leg. Okay? See how he brought his butt up briefly? Because he's thinking, oh, are we going to move here? Okay? Now, something that I could do, because now he's starting to stoop here, is I could lightly pull up and tap to see if I can push for a more upright sit. If that's the case, then we want to switch topics, right? So like, let's say you're practicing with them and you want to be a bit more proactive about pushing Shaw in his comfort zone, is I forget about the stay then. And I start to focus on trying to get him to not be so cowardly like this, okay? I come back to his side, I can pet him, I know, buddy. Good. He's still in a stay, so if I step away, good. So it's kind of like what we did earlier. But earlier it was sit on command. Now it's sit because it's built into the heel. Okay? Heel. Here is a bit angled, right? Perfect positioning would be this. We're getting this. I accept this for now, because this is better than him being over here. Okay? Oh, stay. And more advanced training, left leg means walk with me, right leg means you don't move. Okay? And that's without words. So when I said heel, I was moving with my left leg first. And when I did this stay, I was pivoting out with my right leg. And it's really just repeat. We say the word heel whenever we go from stationary to motion. Okay? If I'm already walking with the dog and they pass me and I go to correct them, I don't say heel again, I simply remote. Okay? And then we change direction. We'll go more in depth in that next time. Heel. Oh, so that's funny because I've been doing this for years. And I've always said heel whenever I come from a stop to move again. Okay? And I've taught all my clients like that. But now, for whatever reason, this past year, I've had several clients ask me, Jesse, do I have to say heel every time I move? And I go, technically no. If you issue the command, tip, 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 27, tip, 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 tip. Good. If we issue the command, it's in effect until you say something else like sit, down, or stay, or break. Okay? So if I say heel and I'm walking and I come to a stop sign and I stop, as long as I move forward with my left leg, tip, 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 not there, but tip, tip, tip. Good. As long as I keep moving with this leg, the dog should default into the heel. Okay? So then if I come to a stop, they sit, break, and they're having their potty break, they're peeing, they're pooping, they're playing, then I call them back in the heel. Now it's in effect again. Does that make sense? Okay. Have you guys ever trained a dog before?
Not with this, but just like,
Just on our own,
Yeah.
we've had many dogs that we've Tried to train.
Sure. When did you try to train to heel?
Yeah.
How did you try to train it?
Mostly like just what you were saying, to move with the leg and to stay on your side and to stop and sit when you stop, and then when the left leg goes, then you start again.
Yep. If the dog passed you, what would you do?
Pull back and say heel.
Okay. So that is the most common approach. Okay. For the dog, on Shaw, this is you, right? They pull ahead. When we're using aversives, either people use the zap, they'll use the yank from the prong, or the choke chain, or even a flat collar or harness. They'll pull the dog back and they'll say no. The dog comes here, heel, and they'll keep moving. The dog goes ahead, yank, no, heel, right? You keep repeating this process, and dogs almost never get it. The reason is he has 4 legs. He has a faster walking cadence than we do, right? He's also not meant to be healing, right? Is the human rationale is when you say no, you're marking, don't do that. And when the dog comes back, you're marking heel, in the hopes that the dog will attach that heel means to be here, right? But it's this constant process, right? What we do is, I don't like arguing with dogs. Well, you want to go that way, buddy? Sure. But I'm going to annoy you with this thing, and I'm going to go this way, right? What the heck's going on? This thing, right? Actually, it's like feed your place. Yeah. So, found the dog, right? We're walking, they pass up. We're going that way. This is happening. I don't like this. Oh, you're going that way now. They catch up. They stop. It stops. They're not trained yet. They pass. Happens again. Oh, you're going that way now. Right? And we keep repeating this. So we look crazy. Just going back and forth, right? Dog's going, and that way, right? And eventually, once we find the right number, and we've done this enough times, all of a sudden the dog goes, every time I pass you, this happens. What happens if I just walk right next to you? Nothing. So then they find the pocket. Okay? This is the safe zone, right? Just like the place is the safe zone. Or going in this position is like a safe position, right? Pressure on when they're going the wrong way. Pressure off once they're going the right way. Okay? That's how, if you do prong or even slip chain, so with a prong collar, if they pass, you correct and go the opposite way. The problem with the prong is that if the environment's more distracting than your correction, then it's much better.
Yeah.
But it's a constant argument. With this, if I know if I'm at the right number, the dog is going to do it. So after we've taught the initial heel, we could technically just start going for a walk. It doesn't matter if it's a new environment or not, because all I need to do is find the number appropriate that's going to make the dog think like, you know what, yeah, we're in a new environment, but this is making it not worth trying to pull and all that stuff and forge. So if you have this habit of pulling back and stuff, we want to unlearn it, okay? When we walk, we're always super relaxed, our arms are down. Because if there's tension is communication, okay? So if I'm walking with Jack, right, and I'm relaxed, and Jack's controlling to walk here, right? If I feel this, what does this tell me?
He's not healing anymore.
What's he doing?
Slow down.
He's slowing down. He's lagging, he's sniffing the ground, he's doing something that's not here, right? So if I'm relaxed and there's no tension coming from me, the tension tells me Jack is doing something, right? Same thing if I'm walking, I feel this tugging to the side. Oh, don't sniff that, tap, tap, boom, back in the heel again, right? Most people are always like this when they're walking their dogs because they're so conditioned on physical restraint as opposed to mental control of teaching the dog to actually follow our lead, okay? And this is how we build off-leash level, okay? When the day we start to heal with this, we're already starting off-leash training because of the tool and because of the fact that we don't really use the leash too much. Because if we keep using the leash, like when we turn, and we turn the dog with us, it becomes a part of that, right? The dog needs it in order to actually move with us. So now, if you take the leash away and you make your turn, your dog doesn't know what to do because there's no more tension. We do everything via the remote. And what we want them to see from the dog is when they feel this, is here, right? Right now you saw Shaw go into here. And I took my time, and every time I made him come to the pocket. If he made a mistake, I would correct it, and then he'd get out of position, back into the pocket. This isn't him being a jerk. This is him being anxious, okay? So let's see the difference here. This is, okay, right, okay. Then break. Good. Sit. Good. 18. Yep. Tap. Okay. See how much straightforward that was? Yes. Okay. Stay. Stable dog. Okay. So my niche is behavior. Again, we can't make the dog unnervous, unanxious, unfearful. We can teach them how to handle it better, how to work through stress. But then I'm also teaching and showing the owner, this is your dog, this is what we can do to help, and this is what you do with this type of dog. Because when you have a guy like him, and a guy like him, which is great, because now you have comparison. Tap, 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 tap. Good. Now you have comparison. It's a very different ballgame. I would assume like just with a parent, if they have a disabled child and a child who's not disabled, different, right? And as much as like, I treat them the same in the sense that if the standard is you're here, that's the standard. I don't care if you're anxious or not. You're gonna do it. I'm not allowing him any leeway because he's anxious. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I am approaching him as an anxious dog, correct? Yep. So when we walk in here, like it shouldn't matter leash or no leash when we're moving, whether we're inside, outside, we're at the farmer's market, we're out at the trail, leash, no leash. This is how they're supposed to walk with you, okay? I think what my staff has done is we have Shaw on the outside because we're starting to integrate them, moving together.
Okay.
So it would be Duncan on the inside, Shaw on the outside. Because if you keep the smaller dog on the inside, they tend to feel kind of towered over, and it just makes it a bit easier, okay? So here, once I've issued the word, like, I'm not really having to do much to get Duncan to move with me. Now, I am doing things body language-wise that lets him know that we're turning, yes, and we'll cover all that stuff. But heel is this,
Yeah.
no matter what the context is. Good. Good. Let's do it, move forward. 22. Boom. Just like that. Stay.
Wow.
He's
He's not
like,
even looking, he's just.
I know, he's like, I could do that too.
It's easy.
Down. Sure.
Take me a minute, but I'll get there.
Place. Yeah. And then we can start combining things, right? So we teach one thing, we practice it, they kind of master it. We teach something else, they master it, we combine them, and we just keep stacking things, okay? We take a little bit of time here. Questions so far? Do you feel like you're overloaded? Like it's too much information? Okay, good. Let me actually have you, we'll switch right now. This is Sean.
Yeah, that's Sean.
Go and release Jack here. just touch on the healing exercise, okay? So good, he's there, and then let's give it up, there we go, good. So, traditional heel is, word heel, and then moving forward with left leg,
Mhm.
right? The reason for this is dogs have a wider peripheral range than we do, so the left leg is closest, so that becomes a visual cue, now we're moving, right? Right leg is of course further away, we move the right leg, it should be they don't move. If we're teaching heel on the right side, it's reversed. Right would be heel, left leg would be don't move, okay? What I'm gonna have you do here is just let your leash be slack, and you're gonna go from the heel, you'll move around a bit, you'll come to the stop, Jack will sit, and then you're gonna go into the stay. So now we're gonna do conflicting
The
commands.
stay is the left hand.
Correct. I use the hand closest to the dog. So like further down the line, let's say we do a recall. Jack comes and he lands on your right side. You would then use your right hand to say stay. A lot of people ask, like if, especially if the dog's like this, they'll do like stay, right? And they'll like really try to like get in the dog's visual. It's okay if they don't see it. They're gonna hear the word,
Yeah.
right? If they make the mistake, then I correct them, and then they better start listening to what I'm saying more, okay? So go ahead and go into the heel.
Heel.
Good. So technically, if you take the dogs out, right, and you don't say anything, they can pull you and drag you, right? A lot of, like some of the most common leash walking things or comments that I get are, Jesse, I don't need my dog to walk like this. I just want them to not pull me. You can't, dogs are either pulling you or they're not pulling you, right? So, the way we,
right here. Yeah.
the way we teach the heel is they watch your every movement, they match your every movement like a shadow,
Yeah.
right? But it's an on and off switch.
Yeah.
He should default, Jack. He should default
Embarrassing, Jack.
into the heel, as you've seen right the past this today and last time.
Yeah.
But technically, they're not in the position.
Yes.
So if they decided to pull you or sniff the ground or pee,
It's not
tap, there you go, it's not wrong. So then I would issue the word in, and now it's like, okay, now you're clocked in, now you can't yank and pull me all over the place. Okay? Good. Good.
Stay.
Mhm. Good. Here, I'm going to say down.
Down.
He was looking at the bed too,
Mhm.
daydreaming. Like, it looks so comfy over there. Yep, yep. There he goes. Good. And then I'll have you hold the leash and then walk around again. Good. Go ahead and send him to place.
Place.
A little bit of direction, there you go. Yep, there he goes. Good. Now, did you see how he got up and then lay back down again?
Mhm.
Because he thought it might down in here.
Yeah.
That complete slack and the fact that he was just spot on with the leg is what heel's supposed to look like, okay? This is up to no leash,
Yeah.
and that's what we're building towards here. Yeah, you think Duncan. Try it with Duncan.
He's so dramatic.
Break. Another break.
Yep. And give a little tap here.
Break.
There he goes. Now, ideally, I try not to, but for the sake of training, and then just getting him off, that's okay. All right, so when you walk with him, we have two modes. We have like non-distracting, and then like there's a dog coming, right? So like right here, the way you have your leash,
Mhm.
this is how I would hold it if I have a distraction coming
Okay.
and want
That's
the
like my
extra
go-to is to make sure I have some sort of like, I don't know, him close to
control.
me.
Yes. And so for this,
Mhm.
okay, when I see we're gonna be passing by a person and their dog,
Mhm.
let's say it's person, dog,
Mhm.
dog, person,
Mhm.
it's gonna be difficult.
Yeah.
Okay? Even a really well-trained dog, if that dog starts pulling
Yeah.
and yanking or lunging towards Duncan,
Mhm.
he's gonna want to respond,
Yeah.
right? So here we have a couple of choices. What we could do is, if we step aside, right? Let's say I'm already stepped aside and the person was coming this way, so I ended up moving with Duncan to the side. I take my leash and I shorten it like you do,
Mhm.
but even more so. So
Okay.
you're leaving a little bit of slack.
Yeah.
Okay, when we do this, the reason why we don't want slack is in case something happens, I can get immediate
Yeah.
control as opposed to this,
Yeah.
where I'm all the way up here now, right? Once the distraction is passed, I can let the slack go, I can walk.
Okay.
So when I test for whether or not a dog is paying attention and actually feeling,
Mhm.
you'll see me let the slack go, like this, and we're just walking. As long as I have nice, open, clear sidewalk, I'll take advantage, because if I'm walking with Duncan for 30 minutes like this,
Mhm.
and the leash is like this,
Mhm.
what's that tell us?
He's paying attention.
Yeah, he's focused, right? He knows how to heal. When I see the distraction coming, I'll do this. I'll still leave a little bit of slack, and you can always move to the right to keep him on the outside. And then he walks past it, perfect, and then go back to slack leash again, right? So at the end of the day, he is still a dog, that he can be impulsive, right? So I always want to set myself up to succeed. Once we start working with the two of them,
Yeah.
with you, it's gonna be a different kind of skill set.
Yeah.
But the way you're holding the leash is good. We want to make sure that there's slack here. Now, one thing is, if Duncan passes us, you would want to make that about right turn cap to correct, to bring him back here,
Okay.
okay? If you have your leash like this, you're gonna turn
Yeah.
him, okay?
Yeah.
So then what we want to do is, when we're walking,
Drop it.
let that go,
Okay.
so that he has the space
To make that.
to make
choice.
that, yeah, exactly, so that he's coming in to close the gap as we're moving, okay? So I'll give him to you real quick. And that's more so like FYI stuff, we'll
Okay.
most likely review it again in the future.
Yep.
Good. Good. Try to stay.
Stay.
Good.
Yep.
Good. Try it down here.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's not always the answer, buddy. Don't.
It is when he's tired.
I know. It's like me after a long day,
I
so
know.
I just sit into the bed.
It's a lot of hard work you're doing, buddy. Yeah. You're doing a lot of hard work.
Go ahead and place it.
Duncan, place.
Good confusion, we corrected them last time. Okay. Good. so that's the sneak peek into the heel. Questions?
I think so.
Pretty good, huh?
Unusual
Yeah,
good.
if I say so myself.
Unusual good.
Good.
Yeah, they've all done really well, nothing out of the ordinary. Duncan was the most resistant with the sit, then Jack. Shaw was super easy. And so we introduced the prong collars to give you an extra tool. You know, if you're walking the three of them together, or the two of them, or a mixed match, it's going to help a lot more. We did notice, my handler Enrique noticed that when he tried to work with Shaw and Duncan on the dual walk with the prong collar, I think he said he saw him want to redirect. And it was partially to the leash and then partially towards Duncan.
Okay.
So what we ended up doing was, on their walks, they're doing the prongs and using it more to get him over it.
Okay.
And then we're gonna reintegrate and then see how he responds, okay? Worst case scenario, so when it comes to the redirect, it's pressure overload, the dog's stressed, it has to go somewhere. He's gonna go for the closest thing. When it's just Shaw and the handler, he goes for the leash. When it's Shaw, the handler, and Duncan, he goes for either Duncan or the leash, right? And we obviously don't want that first thing happening. It's really difficult to correct that. Okay, so the way I work around it is if I know Shaw walks really well, and Duncan, because he's the bigger one, I need more control over, then I opt for the prong and remote on him, and Shaw just gets the e-collar, because I'm not too worried about him getting too out of line.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if we see that he does need it, we may just do one on each side.
Okay.
So right now that's Duncan Shaw. So then we can always just fix things so that one dog here. Mechanic wise with the leash healing exercises and the leg movements, it doesn't make a difference. Okay? I think it's easiest just to have them on one side.
Yeah.
We'll see if that works out. Okay? Otherwise, they're doing good. They're starting to eat now. Behavior is the same. When they're independent with each other, they're kind of indifferent, and then they'll like kind of play for a little bit, and then they just kind of chill and they'll like lay down or whatever. We've not seen anything of any concern or anything like that. Okay?
Great.
So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll take Shaw, and then I'll grab Duncan, and then I'll come back for Jack. Okay?
Hey, Susie. Don't break. Break.
You did this to me.
I don't know, but you're doing so good. You kind of smell a little bit. You kind of smell.
That's dog sweat.
He's dangerous as hell, so.
Yeah.
You guys are good.
Oh, Jack treated a couple of leashes. Right?
Oh, I should have told you that, yeah, Jack likes to eat leashes, yeah.
Yeah, so we got a chain leash after he chewed the first two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like, there's not gonna
And
be.
it takes him like 4 seconds, you don't even
Oh,
know it's
yeah.
gone. and
It was
all of a
real
sudden,
quick.
yeah.
It was funny because he was on place, he had chewed the leash, and he was sitting there. And Enrique goes to go do his training with them. And I was like, you chewed this leash? And he's like, what? And he just saw the little handle hanging there. I'm like, yeah, look. And he's like, oh man. He's like, I didn't even.
But he was still in
realize that.
place?
Yeah, he didn't move. Yeah. So we got a team right after that.
Check you guys didn't do anything wrong with that,
Yeah,
Dad.
I forgot to mention that, I guess.
I did not leave my place, therefore I did not do anything wrong.
He has the ability to do it quickly, too. You don't even know he did it. Right? Right, Jack?
Yeah.
Jack?
Tired.
Yeah. I know it's hard work.
It's really hard this one, okay?
All right. And check. Take here as well. Move up. Thank you. Quick.
Thanks.
Well, he's still prancing, that's a good sign.
Thanks.
all bolted too.
I said they're all molting too.
All right. Whew. That was a long one. So thank you.